Welcome along to the BT Sports Studios in Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park in London. We are live this afternoon and this evening hosting the British Cycling Zwift eRacing Championship. This is a first, so count yourselves very lucky to be part of this. Now, it does promise to be spectacular and we get underway in just a few moments. But joining me this afternoon, mark your card, with our commentators, Nathan Guerra, aka the voice of Zwift no less, former pro cyclist Hannah Walker, and our roving reporter Laura Winter. Guys, this is very exciting. The riders are actually behind us right now. This is a kind of a massive look for cycling, isn't it?
Yeah, this is complete new look, and it's very, very exciting. It's, you know, this new form of discipline of racing is e-racing, and yeah, you still have to pedal the bike just as hard. And yes, but yeah, very, very exciting, and looking forward to see how the day pans out. Okay, indeed.
Now, Laura, what will your role be in today?
Okay, so I'm going to be roving about. I'm very lucky that I get to see the riders immediately before and then also immediately after the race as well. So I'll be interviewing the riders, seeing how nervous, the level of anticipation we've got just behind us here on the grid, and also getting that all-important reaction as well. Winners, losers, whoever we talk to, it's going to be a brilliant day.
It is indeed going to be a brilliant day. Now, Nathan, Kara, the voice of Zwift, did you ever picture it being so big and an event like this happening?
Well, I guess that was the dream the whole time, right? When we started in the cubbyhole with the green screen, and now we're here, live on TV. I mean, pretty amazing to be here. So yeah, real racers, real power, virtual world, that's what it was all about from the get-go.
Indeed, and just to compare it, the kind of the Zwift world, the gaming world with riding, this is an incredible thing, and this is kind of the future in many respects.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the real power being put out here right now, going into the game in order to power these avatars forward and get the first one across the line, just like all other esports. Same thing, except for we got the effort from these riders, from their bodies here.
Definitely. Now, Hannah, some people might be thinking and saying, it looks easy. What would be your response to that, Hannah?
I think it's far from the truth. You'll see in just a few moments' time how hard Zwift racing is, from the faces on the riders, and you know, you'll see their avatar, and when it pans to them in real life on these turbos, yeah, it's a lot of pain.
Okay, I just wanted to double check with you on that one, Hannah.
Yeah,
okay,
definitely.
So just to confirm on this, we have 10 men and 10 women here today competing in 3 races each. We are moments away from the opening race, which is the women's elimination at 5 to 3. The men do the same. An hour later, it's the women's HSBC UK points race. The men have theirs at 5 o'clock. And then tonight should be brilliant with a capital B, because we are live on BT Sport 1, where we have 2 Wahoo Scratch races. You won't want to miss any of that. So we're almost ready, as I say, for the women's race. Laura's with some of the guys taking part. There you are, Laura. There you are.
Just hiding behind you there, Tom. Yeah, I'm with Rosamund Bradbury here, formerly, of course, a GB rower, and here on the bike. How's that transition been for you, and what are the emotions right now, less than 2 minutes till the start?
I'm really excited about it. It's very different to anything I've done before, as it is for everyone, but I think it'll be good fun and hard race.
It will indeed be a tough race. Best of luck to you. Now, Corinne, a couple of days ago, you weren't going to be here. You were going to be the reserve rider. You're now bang smack here, middle, centre of stage, because unfortunately Danny Rowe has pulled out with injury. Talk me through those emotions of being called up sort of last minute to an extent.
Yeah, like obviously I was completely elated. I did message Danny actually, because obviously for me it's great, really exciting, but gutting for her, and so it was kind of mixed in that. But I never thought I'd be here now. So yeah, really chuffed to bits.
Best of luck. Have fun, exactly. Yeah. Best of luck to you. Right, this, of course, the elimination race. We've got Mary Wilkinson here, fastest qualifier here in the studio from our qualifying rounds. Talk to me about tactics for this elimination race. How does it work?
It's going to be very interesting. I don't think any of us have done anything like this on Zwift before, so it's going to be really playing it as it goes along, I think. Yeah, I don't know. I'll tell you after.
And pressure, I think, for you as well here. Of course, coming in as one of the fastest, one of the favourites. Pressure or motivation?
Oh, motivation, absolutely. You know, every single woman and the guys that are here, we've all earned our place, and it's just exciting.
Absolutely. We've got 30 seconds to go. I'm going to hand over now to our commentators, Nathan Guerra and Hannah Walker.
Thank you so much, Laura. Wow, this is going to be super exciting. We've got, it looks like 20 seconds to go to the first race of the day, elimination race. 5 laps on LaGuardia, 2.8 kilometers it looks like total for each lap. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Here's the start list for the day. Carolyn Murray, Team Fierce, looks like there. Claire Reed, Kiss Racing Team. Corinne Fox is riding unattached, it looks like there. And now we are on to the race, though. Fast and Furious races, Hannah, in Zwift Racing. But it's an elimination race, though. Usually in the scratch races, we see a situation where it's boom from the get-go, but there might be a little bit more cat and mouse here, a little bit more games being played, Hannah.
Yeah, with 10 riders on the start line here, 2 riders go out every lap. So actually, the riders don't need to go full gas from the start. You know, they could play a bit of a cat and mouse type game, kind of look at each other. All they need to do is get to the finish line and make sure they're not within those last 2 riders. Now you can see here, already the riders are up to like 4.1 watts per kilo. They're going fast. It's 64 kilometers per hour already. So actually, very, very fast from the get-go. They want to put riders under pressure.
Yeah, this course definitely has a lot of undulations in it, ups and downs that they're going to be experiencing out on course. You do see in the upper left-hand corner the current power that the riders are putting out in the studio here right now, and you can also see the current heart rates. 185 beats per minute, for anybody who's unfamiliar with that, is an extremely high heart rate. These riders are working very hard right from the get-go. On the right hand of the screen, if you're unfamiliar with Zwift Racing and the Zwift format there, you can see all the riders' names there, as well as the watts per kilogram, or the power that they're putting out in relation to the weight that they do weigh in game, as well as their country flags and the teams that they're riding for if they do have a team. There are also power-ups in the game, a little bit of a gamification thing there that some of our viewers might not know about. These riders are able to use a power-up that they get in the game each time that they go through the start-finish banner or the lap banner, and that gains a little bit of advantage in the game, Hannah. So you've got the arrow power-up, a feather power-up, as well as a drafting power-up. Arrow power-up reducing the drag on the avatar in the game, reducing how much power you have to put out to hold a faster speed. Then there's the drafting power-up that actually makes it easier to draft on the rider in front of you. And then the feather power-up lightens the avatar of the rider in the game. So you can see these real efforts here coming from the riders right now on screen here, obviously working extremely hard. We do see the KRT rider here toward the front, though. And now we do have a little bit of attack. The riders, I think, though, it is going to be a cagey race, though, coming through each lap, and it's going to be an elimination each lap, 2 riders off the back for 5 laps, and then at the last lap, it's a head-to-head between the last 2 riders left. So now the game starts. We're heading into the first lap, and I think they're thinking about what is my position coming in across that line with only 2.8K to go to the first 2 riders taken out of the race here, Hannah.
Yeah, exactly. You've done 1.8 kilometers already, 1K to go. This is where riders already need to start thinking about their position. They don't want to be at the back of this peloton of 10 riders. You want to be sitting in around 3rd or 4th wheel, personally, I'd say. And it gives you a better, you can already see there, as we were talking about the power-ups earlier, this is a feather power-up being used. So maybe a little bit early, I think. Maybe a bit of the wrong time. I think I'd use that in the climb going up towards the finish banner.
Yeah, interesting to see that power-up is already being used. It looks like one of the KRT riders here that made that happen. It looks to be that. Now it looks like Dixon here on the right-hand side, though, making her way toward the front in the All-Stars kit now. Wilkinson now also looking pretty steady here. Wilkinson, one of the favorites for sure, definitely being a Zwift Academy finalist this past year. She was participating in a Zwift Academy talent identification program and made it to the last 3 finalists on that program. So definitely wanted to be watching out for their Mary Wilkinson for the riding forward. Looks like KRT out there, I believe, today now. Brown now, it looks like, making her way to the front here. But on the power-ups here, that feather power-up that you saw there did reduce the weight of the avatar in the game, so the riders then had to put out less effort to travel uphill faster and faster that they could travel uphill because of that reduced weight. Just like in any cycling event, same exact thing, where if you weigh less, you're going to go uphill faster with the amount of power you're putting out. Basic physics, right, Hannah?
Yeah, definitely. You can see Dixon here on the front. She's leading this group of 10. She has Claire Reed in her wheel. Now, for me, if I was going to use, and you can see actually Leah Dixon has a feather power-up. Yeah. When will she use this? I think the best time would be going into the final section going into the finish.
Yeah, I think, Leah, here perhaps, there is on this course, if we have, with the sprint section, you have a little bit of a climb before the actual elimination part on the LaGuardia course. So going into that final kick, it's uphill and then a downhill sprint, actually. So I have a feeling we may have a saving of some feather power-ups for that specific section of the course here. Dixon here seems to be wanting to take control of the course, though, take control of the race now. 4.8 watts per kilometer, 287 watts, 186 beats per minute at this point. Fairly high heart rate, though. Now we just see the vision rider here now on the left-hand side of the course. That's going to be Sharon Bird with a feather power-up, maybe struggling a little bit. That is a very early power-up for Bird to be using at this point. Not exactly sure if that was a mistake or not. They do have a little button that they do press on the front of their bikes in order to use their power-up. So Bird there, maybe with an accident, or perhaps she's struggling at this point just to hang on and needed that little bit of reprieve to try and hang on to the pack now. Wilkinson now looks to be making her way to the front in the KRT kit, blue kit there, now going backwards though, seems to be setting herself up almost perfectly for this sprint. We are heading into the climb though, and it is going to be the first elimination of the day. Two riders are going to have the points for the national championship on the line. It is a descending point structure. They will be receiving 1 and 2 points for these last places out there if they are eliminated here. Here comes a kick, and it's going to be Bradbury going to the front now with a power-up use. Not going to be a lot of use for that power-up though, because there's a drafting power-up. Nobody to draft that's in front of her, but walking away, solid gap between her and the other riders, and I'm not sure there's even going to be a draft on her with that gap. It's over 5 meters. Dixon trying to come across, and it's going to be about the last two across the line. So Bradbury just flexing the muscle there a little bit and showing that she is able to just walk away, but it wasn't about being the first one across the line. It was about who were the last two across the line. We'll get confirmation of who was eliminated in just a moment, but it looked to be Murray from Fearless, who's now 13 seconds back, has been pulled from the race here, I believe. We'll see if we can get more confirmation on who is that. What a really, just a kind of, I've got the power, I can make it happen, and I'm gonna win this sprint, even though it's not a sprint win and not gonna eliminate it. I think really showing that she's got the means to take this race though.
Yeah, she really just showed her power and her strength there going into that first elimination. Must say though, when she was using that draft power up, actually it's probably a good tactic from her, because when she goes through the start finish banner, she will get another power up hopefully, so whether it be a feather, an aero, a draft, so maybe she wanted to get rid of that drafting one and see if she could get an aero, which this is the favourable power up from all riders.
Yeah, the Darrow power-up most definitely is going to be the one that they're all going to be looking for. It's the strongest power-up in Zwift for sure. Now we do see the riders that have been eliminated here. It does look like it's going to be the KRT rider and the Fearless rider. So it's going to be Reed as well as Murray that have been eliminated. They will be gaining points still, so their race is not over for the national championship. Now remember, this is the first race of the day. We have 3 races, both for the men and the women, and at the end of the day, the person with the most points wins the first British Cycling eRacing national championship. So they still have a chance in this, but 1 and 2 points, not a whole lot coming toward. They're going to really have to make up for it in the points race as well as in the scratch race later on today.
Yeah, definitely. So it's kind of put them on the back foot a little bit, but hopefully they don't kind of be affected too much. They can bring it back in that HSBC UK points race and the Wahoo scratch race. We'll just have to see come later on, but it does mean that they have a little bit more recovery time than everyone else. It just depends if they can come back for those other 2 races. But yeah, Leah Dixon looking very, very strong currently.
Leah Dixon on the front here doesn't seem scared to take the wind here in the face here, as just like in real life racing, if you're on the front, you're taking all of that headwind onto the avatar there, and you're pulling the rest of the group along here, 182 beats per minute, but maybe just making sure her position doesn't fall too far back. Maybe a little bit of nerves there too, though, to make sure, I don't want to fall too far back, and this might be a situation where I could get in trouble if I do. Looking fairly calm, though, on screen. We do see that those Wahoo fans are blowing into the face, keeping the riders cool. How important is that, Hannah? Your experience with Zwift racing, you're involved with the WNT Rotor team and all of that, and their communications. You're watching the KISS Super League the last couple of weeks and everything that we've had out on Zwift. Lots of racing out on Zwift for those who aren't familiar with that, and lots of leagues that do go on. And Hannah, you've been involved in these races week in and week out. It's so incredibly hard if you're not cooling.
Yeah, it's really hard, and I think once you start to overheat, your body just can't cool itself down. So once you get to that point, actually you struggle, and it makes it harder, and your heart rate goes higher, and you almost get into that sense of I wouldn't say panic, but you kind of really struggle to get back on top of your game. So it's so important to make sure you're cooling down, and when you're in a studio, especially with 10 other riders who are also all sweating, it's very important to keep your body temperature low.
Heading into the next elimination here on lap number 2, Bradbury taking over the front end of the pack again. 7.6 watts per kilogram, 600 watts, 188 beats per minute currently coming from Bradbury, flexing the muscle again, showing that she's got the sprint to win. This is a lot of energy being used in the first race of the day, but just wants to completely take out of the picture any possibility of being eliminated from this race. What goes ahead, distances herself. It looks like the Zwift All-Star Dixon's coming on through here. Now it's going to be Brewer there from Team Fearless coming through, and the battle at the line was behind there, though. It looked like it was going to be Fox as well as one other rider behind there trying to hang on to the pace, and it looks like 2 more will be eliminated from the race now. We'll get confirmation in just a moment of who they were, but it is going to be Bradbury, and it looked like Dixon and Bird for sure that were not eliminated. I believe it is going to be Fox and perhaps Brown. We'll have to wait and see as they are slowing down out on course here. So interesting to see how that's playing out. It is definitely a cagey race. Now, just interesting also, though, that they're keeping the pace so high, so there might be some nerves, actually, but now that we start to whittle it down, now we're getting down to quite a few, we're at 10, 8, now with 6, I think there's going to be a little bit more what we call hand-holding going on, a little bit more of a slowing down of the pace and watching who's got what, rather than there's this constant high pace trying to find your spot in the pack.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you just saw then the speeds at 42 kilometers per hour, which actually is still very, very fast. And there's not much time for recovery along on this circuit, really. As soon as you get to the elimination process, you do have to sprint. It takes the effort out of you. And Mary Wilkinson, the Zwift Academy finalist from 2018, here is leading the front of this bunch. And Leah Dixon, very, very prominent at the front. It's very interesting to see that she wants to take this race up the front. She's not really getting that drafting effect or benefit either. But maybe she's feeling strong. You can just see her here in your screen on the bottom left. She actually looks very, very comfortable, Nathan.
She does look extremely comfortable actually at this point, which is interesting. It's such a high heart rate and a high watts per kilogram that we've seen her right around this 250 to 280 all the way through. Obviously an extremely strong rider here. Mary Wilkinson, though, has been sitting in really, really smartly all the way through. What I've seen the tactic from Mary here has been not sticking her face in the wind, not pulling everybody else along here. As we do have Mary Wilkinson, the bottom left of your screen right now. There's the real effort, but look how calm Mary is at this point. She's really focused, a little bit of cadence there, a little bit of rocking here. And I think that rocking is not actually, in cycling you sometimes see this rocking of the body that means the rider's tired. That doesn't look like that to me at all, Hannah.
No, I think that's just her riding style. I mean, I've seen her out on the road racing, and she still has this style like she does when she's riding on Zwift. So I think it's just her style. She just looked very, very calm and collected. I had a word with her last night before the race just to see how she was feeling, and she said she was feeling very confident. This kind of racing and style of racing suits her very, very well. Yeah, I think, and she's very experienced on Zwift, so she knows this course, she knows how to ride it, and she knows the points and the pinch points where she needs to make her effort.
Again, Dixon on the front here. She keeps on taking over in the white, blue, and orange kit for the Zwift All-Stars that she is wearing there. She's been riding in the Community League as well as the KISS Super League on that team, as you can see, and has been awarded that as one of the community teams riding amongst some of the pros actually out on Zwift. And so Leah Dixon here sporting that jersey with the light blue, orange, and white kit. Now heading to the front again, almost 5 watts per kilogram coming from her. That's up into almost 300 watts and 190 beats per minute. Dixon Brewer does follow up very closely in the Team Fearless kit, though. That is the bright neon kit there right behind. She does have a teammate on site here, but has been eliminated from the race now, so there's not going to be too many team tactics out on course any longer. I think it's only KRT at this point that might have 2 racers. We'll be watching for that dark blue kit as we head into the next elimination. 2 more racers going to be following up. Here comes a feather power-up. That is lightning the rider now at that point that has been using it. It looks to be Wilkinson, and I think this one is going to be the real contested one because there's so few riders at this point, and there's 2 aero power-ups, and that might be an upset because the strongest rider might not be able to take down the sprint here. Bradbury over the top at 9 watts per kilogram now has the gap again that we've seen her have each and every time at this point, but Dixon holding on. Can the Team Fearless rider Brewer make it through? Will it be Wilkinson, though, that gets eliminated? Mary Wilkinson, one of the favorites, I think, has been eliminated early on in the race. Maybe a little bit of a misstep, but also was the aero power-up from Sharon Bird, and I think Sharon, we have not seen a power-up from her yet. I think she's been holding on to that, to this key moment that she knew was coming when the real hitters were coming into the race.
Yeah, I think so. She knows she's very, very strong, so she knew she didn't need to use the aero power-up just for the sake of it earlier on, just because she had a power-up. She saved that one. This is the one that all the riders want. This is one of the best power-ups. And yeah, she's used it at the correct time, because you saw then all the riders threw down their power-ups, and you know, this was the crucial moment. This was probably one of the crucial eliminations, and you know, some of the favourites have just gone out there. So yeah, we'll get full confirmation. It looks like Mary Wilkinson's still in on the front here, so she didn't actually get eliminated that time, but yeah, it's going to be close.
Look through here and see. It looks like Brewer was the next one, and then Corinne Fox here, and I believe as we do have the commentators, they do walk up there and let the riders know they've been eliminated, so they need to get the confirmation. We have 4 riders left out on course. Mistake might have been made there for a moment to say that Wilkinson across the line, perhaps, as we did get the shot there, but it looks like Wilkinson's still involved. And the commentator here now let the Team Fearless rider know that they were eliminated. So it looks like it is going to be Brewer and Fox that are taken out in that next. Now, solid points though. Obviously, you know, it's a point structure that's descending, and they still made it to, you know, a great position here. We've got 5th and 6th place, but now 4 riders left, and this is where the real points really start to add up.
Yeah, I don't think they should worry. I think, you know, it's still viable for them to get back into the championship in the next 2 races. So I don't think they need to worry as such, but with these 4 riders now, you can just see the speed has dropped dramatically. We're here at 35 kilometers per hour. Before, you know, we were reaching up to 44, 45, 46 kilometers per hour, and it's just, riders are kind of just looking at each other a little bit. No real moves going, and no one's going to want to attack here. They don't need to. They just need to ride and follow each other's wheels and keep it together. You can just see Sharon Bird here on your screen on the right-hand side, looking very, very calm, and actually doesn't look like she's, you know, putting out so much effort. Is impressive.
Yeah, I think at this point it is becoming the cat and mouse game. There's only 4 riders out on course. They're going to wait for any kind of attacks. You could at this point, you know, in real life, the same thing with the peloton that does come together and starts using each other to gain speed and try and hunt down riders that try and break away. Now there isn't a peloton. Now it's like a breakaway. Now you're in a situation where you could get away, and if some of the other riders are tired or don't want to work together, they start getting some infighting, they might not want to close anything down. So we could see a fairly early attack on this sprint. It does look like, though, they're very interested in just making a kick to the line. This next lap, it's going to be 2 off the back, and then it'll be a head-to-head after this. Who's going to be the next ones to be eliminated? These riders that are eliminated will be getting 8 and 7 points toward their totals for this race now. But there is a 10 and 9 points on the line that'll really be a kick up for the overall points for this national championship for the ones that do come across the line in 1st and 2nd. So they're going to be wanting to stay in this race here for those for sure. Bird now, one of the favorites, I would say, after those cagey moves we saw. Now the question is, a lot of power-ups on the last lap. A lot of riders obviously wanted to stay involved and get the most points that they possibly could. What did they get going under the banner? Under the banners is when you collect power-ups. It goes ahead and it cycles through on the rider's screen, and at that point, when it lands on whatever power-up they get, that is what they get. In the lower left-hand corner here, we see it looks like Bradbury. Every lap, she's been absolutely hammering these sprints and walking away a little bit. Bradbury, 8.6 watt per kilogram, 585 watts, 188 beats per minute in the upper left-hand corner. Coming up and over the top there, she's been distancing herself every lap, but here it is, Bird trying to come through, last second nip at the line, perhaps, and she actually wins the sprint for the elimination. It looks like it might have been Wilkinson just off by a wheel length, but Bird timing it perfectly there, Hannah.
Wow, what timing was that? She surprised everyone, came from the back and just nipped it on the line. Absolutely, you know, perfect riding there by Sharon Bird, but yeah, unfortunately it looks like Leah Dixon and it might be Mary Wilkinson who were eliminated. We'll bring you the results shortly as soon as we find out, but very, very good. It would be interesting now when we go head-to-head in this one, which power-ups did they get, because we didn't see any power-ups being thrown down just then.
That's really interesting, actually. Maybe they all got experience power-ups on the last lap. There is one other power-up that everybody might not know of that's watching. Now, as we do see the next elimination here, it does look like it is going to be Dixon now being taken out of the race here at this point, but collecting quite a few points there for the overall toward the national championship still. So that's a solid result, actually, coming into the next races. If the elimination race isn't her forte, perhaps the sprint points or the scratch race may grab her a few more points. Mary Wilkinson now just being eliminated from the race as well. So now it's going to be Bradbury riding unattached versus the Vision rider, Sharon Bird. Head-to-head now for the 10 points that are on the line here for this e-racing championship on our first race of the day. Bird slowing down quite a bit, not wanting to take the pole at the front here. And this is, talk about that a little bit, Hannah. When you get into a bike race and a head-to-head, on the front, not on the front, where do you want to be? Because it's so important about that draft and who's doing the work.
Yeah, I think it's also, you know, playing mind games with your opponent as well. So if you're in the wheel, you're almost in control of the rider who's riding on the front, because, you know, you could surprise them, come from the back, you don't know where the other rider is kind of unaware of where you're going to come from. So actually you have the advantage. You can just see here on the left-hand side, Rosamund Bradbury, and then on your right, Sharon Bird. Both of them look very comfortable, actually, I must say. I mean, Rosamund Bradbury kind of pulling a few faces a little bit, but yeah, she's played it pretty well so far, Sharon Bird, so she's just done enough every time just to stay in the game. She's, you know, never made any more effort than she needs to.
Now we are seeing Sharon Bird making an attack, actually. I think she caught Bradbury off for just a second there. She was just a little bit of unattention to the wheel, it looked like, of Sharon Bird, and it looks like Bird is taking full advantage of that. Bradbury with that sprint over the top every single time has gone very hard and won almost every sprint outright to this point, but that extra effort might be putting her on the back foot. Bird continues to go and is trying to walk away with this one before they even get to the line, and I think that maybe because she's seen Bradbury sprint every time over the top of that climb, maybe thinks perhaps this time I can't match that. She is getting 2 seconds, but Bradbury's got a solid kick to bring this back, and it looks like she's closing the gap down as we head into the final few K here, and it's going to be Bradbury just trying to grab on. We can't see. There it is. Yes, she does grab onto the wheel here at this point. Maybe going to go flying right on by, and that's a great tactic, actually.
Yeah, did Bird go too early? Is Bradbury now just going to go flat out and go straight past her? But no, it looks like they're both going to come back together before this final elimination and the head-to-head one. But Bird comes back around. This is very, very tactical. Where's the win going to come from? What power-up have each of those riders got? Which one are they going to use? Who's got an aero? Who's got a feather? Who's got a draft? Where's it going to come from? They're riding alongside each other now. And yeah, speeds are only 40 kilometers per hour. They're kind of just playing with each other a little bit.
Yeah, it looks like here we are going to come into the final sprint here for the 10 points that are on the line as they take this little bit of a turn. Very cagey ride at this point. A lot of fairly chill until it looks like a kick is going to be happening here in just a second. I do see Bird getting up and out of the saddle now. 7 watts per kilogram on the right-hand side of the screen. You can see how many watts per kilogram they're used. There is a feather power-up. Does Bird have an arrow? That's going to be the question. She's got to hold on for 15 seconds to somebody who has a power-up, and it might not have been in her favor when she came through the line last lap, because it doesn't look like she's got one. Bird's trying to respond, but she can't do it. Up and out of the saddle, everything she's got, 8 watts per kilogram, 500 watts or so coming from Bird. Here comes Bradbury, and it looks like Bradbury's going to take down the W, and look at the exhaustion from these women, giving everything they can for the first ever e-racing championships, British Cycling e-racing championships here out on Zwift on this LaGuardia course, and it looks like that was an absolute Look at Sharon Bird, head down. I've had that experience many a times on Zwift racing, how incredibly hard it is. You put everything on the line.
Yeah, you do. You put all effort in, and I think actually you can actually make yourself go harder and deeper racing in these Zwift races. So you can just see how much effort is put in here. Rosamund Bradbury looking actually surprisingly fresh. I mean, breathing a little bit hard, but doesn't look too phased by that. I mean, taking the win, and yeah, Sharon Bird putting a very, very good effort there, attacking half a lap to go. I mean, was it a little bit too early? Maybe she, used a bit too much energy, and you got to try these things, hey, because, if you're not the best sprinter and you're not going to be the strongest, then...
Yeah, and so here we are with the results now, though. Rosamund Bradbury there taking it down. Sharon Bird riding for Vision Cycling there in second. Mary Wilkinson for the KISS Racing team takes down third. It looks like Leah Dixon for fourth for Brother Tifosi. Then it's going to be Leah Brewer for Team Fearless in fifth place. In sixth place, Corinne Fox, followed up by Miriam Jessup there in seventh for Cricky Cycles RT. Lexi Brown in eighth place. Claire Reed for KISS Racing Team in ninth. And Carolyn Murray comes in 10th place for Team Fearless. So solid elimination elimination race. The points now are going to be on the board for who is, who's shown up to try and take this down, who's done their homework, who's put the training in order to try and take down this race, national championship out on Zwift. So let's go back to Laura over on the floor.
Thank you very much indeed. What a final sprint that was, but what an intriguing final lap. What went through your mind when Sharon made that break and gapped you for a bit?
I thought she'd gone very early, so I thought I might have time, but I was worried. Yeah, and it was quite hard to catch her again.
I saw a few furtive looks from you over there to say, oh my God, she's gone quick. The final sprint, what goes through your head there as well? Just all out to the line?
Yeah, basically, because the time before she had come through so strongly, I just knew I had to keep going right to line, and it just gets harder each lap. You got more tired, but yeah, it's good. Pleased to win that one.
And let's talk tactics now as well. When were you using those power-ups with the course?
Well, if I'd had an aero power-up, I'd have saved it, but I didn't get one, so I was trying to use up the other ones on each sprint so that I could, in the hope I'd get an aero one. Didn't happen this time, hopefully next time.
Congratulations though, one win under your belt already. Now I'm going to head over across the studio here to have a chat with Sharon just about the exact moment she decided to make that break for it. Sharon, congratulations, second place. What a sprint, what a final lap that was. What was that decision for you to make that break early? Did you see Rosamund's speed through those sprints?
I could see her going back just a small bit behind me, distance-wise. I thought I would just go for it because I'm not a sprinter. I don't think I'm a sprinter, so I thought the further back I go, when she's maybe at a disadvantage, I have a bit of a chance anyway, so I just went for it, and it didn't work.
And I'm sure you've raced these roads and ridden these roads on Zwift many times, but how different is it when you're actually in an elimination race? You don't get to race that all the time in Zwift.
I've never done this before. This is all brand new. I think it's new to most of us here, so I think we're all in the same boat. So it's kind of just picking it up as you go along and making up the strategy even as you go along as well. So.
Well, well done to you. Congratulations to Rosamund as well. First and second in the first race of the day. Important points picked up before our points race later. We'll head over now to Tom.
Thank you so much, Laura. I have to say, it's not easy chatting to the riders post-race. I mean, you've actually just bolted down here to join me on the sofa. Guys, how about that for a first race? So exciting.
Wow, that was fantastic. You just saw the effort then from all the riders, and it was so close in the final between Rosamund and Sharon. It was didn't know which way it was going to go, actually. Some of those eliminations were so close as well, so yeah, fantastic race so far.
First time having this part of BT Sport, it's live, the first time inaugural event like this. It's brutal. Did you hear the sound effect when they get taken out of the, you might not have heard up in your booth, brutal. But Nathan, I have to ask you, when we talk about power-ups in that sprint towards the end, where do you think the race was won and lost?
Yeah, so Sharon, it looked like, wanted to try and get away because she did not have a power-up. So there was an early attack a little earlier than the sprint that ended up, I think, using a little bit too much effort, but I think she did it because she knew she didn't have a power-up. Bradbury, obviously having that power-up, used it on that little bit of an incline there. That feather power-up reduces the weight of the Avatar, so then the Avatar climbs faster. She came over the top of that climb with a little bit of speed, had the gap already, and then was able to take down the sprint. So solid result there for Bradbury. You can see Bradbury there was kind of trying to find that draft actually on Bird, timed it perfectly over that little bit of a kick. You can see the gradient in the upper right hand corner there, so it's a 1-2% gradient with a lighter Avatar, comes over the top with a lot of speed, 48, 49, 50 kilometers per hour. The speed just starts going away. Bird can't respond. Even if she does have a little bit more power, that little extra speed she gained from the feather power gets her across the line first.
Yeah, Hannah, obviously, former cyclist, you know what it feels like in those moments where you are trying to get across the line and beat your opponent, a fellow rider. What's it like? What would be going through Bradbury's mind there?
I think you've just got to think about yourself. You're aware of your opponent, but I think you just got to think about yourself. You know how you can win a race, and you just play to your strengths. Don't try and play to someone else's strengths. So when Sharon attacked, Rosamund kind of just slowly brought her back. She didn't panic. She just took her time. When she caught her back up, she just played to her tactic that she had planned out before the start of the race. Yeah,
and it's a kind of rude awakening for the other riders who went out earlier. There are probably some tactics. Mary Wilkinson had a situation where she probably would have liked to be in the last two. Didn't happen. How do you psychologically deal with that going into the next race that they'll have?
Well, these racers aren't used to scratch races actually most of the time, so this is very different than what they're doing a lot of times. And so showing up and having race after race, though, it gives them a lot more chances. Mary finished pretty well. She was only nipped at the line, and maybe it's just a little bit of a timing thing. I think Mary's really looking forward to a little bit more climbing that we'll see in the last race of the day, and then get by through the sprints there. I think Mary's really aiming at the scratch race, though.
Yeah, we've definitely, guys, I have to say, after watching that, I think we're peaking. We're peaking at the moment. It's very exciting. What a thrilling start we've had here at the British Cycling Zwift eRacing Championships, and there's more to come. We'll be back in about 25 minutes with live coverage of the men's elimination, and the action continues into the evening with 2 HSBC UK points races, and we are live on BT Sport 1 tonight from 8 o'clock with the Wahoo Scratch races. That's it for the moment then. Go and make a cup of tea or get a snack and join us again at 5 to 3 for the men's elimination race. See you in a bit. Right then, welcome back to the BT Sports Studios in the Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park in London. We are live this afternoon hosting the British Cycling Zwift eRacing Championships. Now, this is a first. We are all excited, as you can imagine. Now, we saw earlier on the women get their competition underway in a dramatic fashion, and it was very dramatic. That was earlier on. And now it's time for the men to step forward. Still with me are our commentators Nathan Guerra, Hannah Walker, plus our roving reporter Laura Winter. Guys, fascinating the first race. We now move on to the men's. I just want to get everybody up to speed. In the layman's terms, Nathan, obviously the voice of Zwift. What is it? You're taking Zwift, you're taking a road bike, you're putting together. How does this work?
Yes, we have real riders on real bikes right now putting real power into pedals that's being communicated through the trainers that they're on. They're on smart trainers, and those are being communicating the power they're putting into the pedals into the game. That's moving the avatars in the game forward. That's moving the bodies that they have in the game forward, competing against each other in a virtual world.
Okay, and in this race we're going to see a slight incline as well, so they will feel it how? It would be affected in the pedals, or?
Yeah, so they're on smart trainers here, so on those smart trainers it actually has a feedback into the bike's chain that actually they feel when they're pushing against that. So as they go up a gradient in the game, they actually feel it just like you would in real life when you're going uphill and it gets a little bit more force you got to put down in those pedals. They feel that exact thing. And it's actually, that's not just like some gradient, it's the gradient you see in the game, 2%, 3%, 10%.
Which is going to make it difficult for you, Laura, because you're going to have to chat to them before the race and after the race.
I know, I've got some sweaty, breathing riders here who are on their limits, and that just shows how tough it is. When we spoke to the women earlier, they were really having to try and calm their breathing down to even get words out. This is seriously tough racing, but I'm very lucky that I get to speak to the riders immediately before and immediately after the racing to get those previews and those reactions.
Okay, Hannah, I'll catch up with you in just a second, because I want everybody to know the schedule. So just to confirm, we have 10 men and 10 women here today competing in 3 races each. We saw Rosamund Bradbury win the women's elimination race earlier, and we are about to see the men compete in their own event. In an hour, it's the women's HSBC UK points race. The men have theirs at 5 o'clock, and then tonight should be brilliant. We are live on BT Sport 1, where we have 2 Wahoo Scratch races. You won't want to miss any of that on the impending action. Right then, so we're almost ready for the men's race. Laura, I think she's left me from the sofa now. She's ready to chat to the guys.
I have hot-footed it over right here to the platform the bikes are on, next to Ian Bibby, of course, a former national crit race champion. What are the tactics today going to be in an elimination race on Zwift? That's something new here, isn't it?
Yeah, it'll be my first, so it'll be interesting to see. We've got the upper hand, hopefully, with 4 riders in the team, so hope we need to try and play that to our advantage, and then, we'll sort of see where we are after the first round, really.
Yeah, it's going to be a team effort today for you guys. For Madison Genesis, of course, who have won the team standings here on the Zwift KISS League as well. George Pym, teammate, how are you feeling right now with 4 team members in this race?
I'm a little bit nervous, to be honest. I think everyone probably will be. Don't really know what's going to happen. Hopefully we'll show ourselves well. We showed ourselves well in the KISS Super League, so much the same would be good.
Well, there we go. Nerves are jangling right here, and we are going to get straight to the racing. So I'll hand you over now to our commentators, Nathan Guerra and Hannah Walker.
Thank you so much, Laura. And the race is about to get going here in just a moment. We've got about 1 minute and 12 seconds to the start of the race. Hannah, it's going to be fast and furious. Looks like we're going to be having the starters here shown out on the camera. So it's Cam Jeffers here for Cycling Hub. Looks like Ed Laverick for Cycling Hub as well. Gavin Dempster riding for Team Draft. George Pym there for Madison Genesis. Ian Bibby, Madison Genesis. James Phillips there riding for Canyon ZEC. John Molden, obviously, for Madison Genesis. Kim Little from Marina Factory Racing. Stevie Young for Canyon ZCC. And Tom Moses for Madison Genesis. So we're out on LaGuardia course. It's going to be 2.8 kilometers each lap. It's got a 1.8 kilometer lead in, and it's got a little bit of a kick each lap before that sprint, Hannah. I mean, that's been a decider almost every lap that last race.
Yeah, that's the point where the riders will want to try and make their move. This is the make or break point, really. We saw Sharon Bird in the previous race before trying to attack with half a lap to go, didn't succeed, and it was Rosamund Bradbury who, attacked on that climb. So the climb is where it's at. That's the place where these riders will want to make their move.
Yeah, you can see the riders warming up now. We've been seeing them put in some serious efforts before the start of this race, but as you can see with 5 seconds to go, they've calmed down a little bit. 140 beats per minute from the rider that we're currently looking like on the screen here, 635 watts. And here we go. Orange numbers on the right-hand side whenever we do see the riders list. Do see that the riders are in a sprint type of an effort. Right from the get-go on the front, it does look like it's going to be Madison Genesis. Speak to us a little bit, Hannah, about what a Zwift race start is like.
It's very, very difficult. It's an all-out sprint. You have to be up there with, around 600, 700 watts to make that sprint, to make sure you stay with the other riders. We've only got 10 riders here in the race today for this final of the British Cycling Zwift eRacing National Championships, but you still have to put in that effort. You can see the speeds already, 65 kilometers per hour. This is hard, tough stuff, but you need to stay with it. Once you get dropped from that bunch, there's no getting back to it.
Yeah, you do see that there are a lot of different teams represented here. We are seeing 4 Madison Genesis riders in the group here. That is a lot of, is it four Madison Genesis riders? I have to get that right. We're seeing 4 have made it into the front group here at this point. So Kim Little, though, it looked like rocking the Zwift All-Stars kit. We see that he's right from Marina Factory Racing today, but it looks like rocking that Zwift All-Stars kit, that's going to be Kim Little toward the front there with that drafting power-up now, and it is that red, white, and orange kit that you're looking at for that. The Madison Genesis boys obviously in the black, red, and a little bit of light blue accents on there. The draft team is going to be the dark red and the black there as well for Gavin Dempster that has made his way toward the front here. So in the elimination race, the last race we saw with the women's, they were definitely kind of calm from the get-go, because I think they didn't want to waste too much effort. It's kind of like we said earlier, going to be a cagey ride.
Yeah, and you can actually see, I think the men's race is actually being a bit more cagey than what the women started off. The women were, 56 kilometers per hour from the very start, and they held on to that for the first lap. The men are actually down to 33 kilometers per hour, so they're very cagey and looking at each other, and no one's wanting to waste energy. This is 5 laps of racing, 2 eliminations per lap for this. So yeah, interesting to see. No one's really wanting to take it up.
Yeah, it does look like as we do start the first lap out here for the elimination, it will be 2 riders eliminated each lap for 4 laps, and then the final lap it'll be a head-to-head for who actually takes all the points on the day. And that's going to be a solid 25 points to the first place across the line. 20 points to the second place, 16 to third, 13 to fourth, and to fifth it'll be 11, and then from there on out it kind of goes down from there. 10th place is only getting 1 point out there. That's a huge gap for this national championship. Taking out so early, it's really going to change things up for this races throughout the day, as we have 3 races going on here: elimination, sprint, and then a scratch race. Right now we're watching this elimination race. It's not everything, but that big of a point difference, Hannah, it really matters.
It could be very detrimental, for one of the top guys who, they're all going for the win, of course, but if you get 10th and you're really wanting to take this title, that could be very detrimental to you in the closing races. You'd hope that the other riders who are your rivals won't score so highly. So yeah, this a big jump, and it also just shows the pressure to make sure you do not get eliminated each lap.
Yeah, we were just looking at Ian Bibby's point of view actually out there. We are getting the rider's actual point of view here and there. When you do see that power-up, there's going to be a little bit of a power-up section that you'll see up in the upper left-hand corner actually. It's usually right next to where we do see that 44 kilometer per hour. Right now we are watching the gameplay that we are looking from the those who are watching the game for us here. But when we do get the first-person point of view for the rider, we're seeing here from Kim Little. This is his first-person point of view right here in that Zwift All-Stars kit. There's Kim Little in the lower left-hand corner right now, putting out that real effort, and we will be able to see whether or not he has a power-up actually heading into each lap. And you're able to, what are power-ups, Henry? You want to give us a little explanation for those who are new to Zwift racing?
Yeah, so if you can see on your screen now, there's a little faint circle in the top corner, left-hand corner. This is where the power-up will be. So it shows that Kim Little hasn't actually got a power-up currently. Now there's 3 different types of power-ups. You have an aero power-up, a feather power-up, and a draft power-up. And also there is an opportunity to get an XP, which the riders in this kind of race do not want to get an XP because it's just points to add to your level, to move you up a level. Now aero. This is the most desired power-up, I'd say, for for Zwift, and you can see already attacks being thrown down here.
Yeah, we'll get to the power-ups again in a second, because it looks like Laverick does not need a power-up out here today, as he's going very early. He doesn't want to take any risk whatsoever. The Wahoo CH rider here starting to walk away a little bit here in the lower left-hand corner. You can see the effort now, very much a concentration. It doesn't look like he's up out of the saddle at all, though, at this point, so very calm here, Laverick, with this little bit of attack. He gets a 5 seconds now. It looks like Moses making his way to the front. He did see his teammate Cam Jeffers just for a moment stick his nose in the wind for a moment, but then backs off, and it's going to be the Canyon team that's trying to bring back Laverick. That's going to be Phillips and Young that have made their way to the front of the pack. But this is the break right now, and it looks like with the left-hand turn in just a moment. Now you can see in the upper left-hand corner, there's the drafting power. That is the truck that is in the upper left-hand corner there, and you can see exactly which one that he has. I have a feeling Laverick has no interest in holding on to a drafting power-up. It's not very strong for this kind of a situation, so I have a feeling he's going to use that drafting power-up in just a moment here to try and make sure that if anybody does come around him in a moment here, he'll be able to hang on.
Yeah, he's best off just getting rid of it and hope that once he goes through the start-finish banner that he will get another power-up. And, you know, could see, I mean, look, he's pulling out. They're bringing the gap back. So he was at 5 seconds. He's coming back down to 1 second. George Pym leading that chase. And actually, he's broken up quite a lot. You can see Steve Young, he's in 10th position at the minute. So there's gaps between everyone as it comes through. The elimination is done.
Yeah, interesting to see. It looks like, did Laverick suffer for that? We'll have to wait and see. He was off the front. Did he end up off the back, though, as the pack came screaming up to him? You know, there is the reality when just like when we do see in the Tour de France and sprint stages, they get a little bit of a breakaway, right? And then it gets pulled back in by the peloton, and then there's a sprint at the end. It's, you know, much mini situation to a gigantic long stage race. But at the same time, we do have the reality here that he had that little bit of a gap, and then it was closed down by a pack that came screaming up to him with a lot of power being used in all the drafts.
Yeah, when you've been away for such a long time, you can just see here our first elimination, Stevie Young from Canyon ZCC. You can just see the commissaire then touch him on the shoulder and say, you know, you're eliminated. You can, you know, stop riding now. So it's quite brutal as your light gets switched off and here Ed Lavrat, the guy who was in the breakaway, the solo breakaway, he has been eliminated. So yeah, just didn't time his effort quite right, but that was so close on the finish line.
It was just maybe a little bit too early. He had the gap to perhaps hold on, but the pack came screaming up there. It was a big risk. It was a big risk, and he took it, and he ended up paying for that risk here. So it is Laverick and Young off the back. Laverick and Stevie Young with 1 and 3 points respectively for 9th and 10th place in this elimination race. First race of the day in the eRacing British Cycling National Championships here, and those are the points that need to be collected for the end of this whole competition. They're going to add all those up at the end of the day for each one of these races, and it's going to end up crowning a national champion. So definitely some work to do for 9th and 10th place there with Laverick and Stevie Young here. Tom Moses now received from Madison Genesis, looking to follow a couple of the riders, getting back into the hand holding. I think we'll see quite a lot from the peloton here. You know, in these elimination races, it's not about breaking away early on. It's about first one across the line for many laps. So you don't have to really put out effort to try and get away unless you think you can just roll away from the whole pack. I mean, if you just think you're the strongest rider out there, that's the kind of risk you could take, but I think we're going to see this a lot, knowing how strong these riders are, how well they can work together, especially having 4 Madison Genesis riders who can just close just about anything down that gets thrown out there. Not sure anyone wants to take that risk.
Yeah, and I think the Madison Genesis riders will also be very, very familiar with an elimination race. You know, all 4 riders have ridden on the track before, so you have this style race on in the velodrome as well. Slight difference though, you get eliminated every other lap, whereas here we're having 2 eliminations every lap. So, you know, for those at home, just because you've crossed the line first, it doesn't mean, you know, you've won. All that matters here is you are not in the final 2 to be eliminated. So, you know, if you cross the line in 2nd or 3rd, fine, safe, you are perfect. It's just make sure you're not in those final 2.
Yeah, it is always kind of a gamble, isn't it, as to where you're going to place yourself in the pack. Do you just go all in, and it's like, if I'm first across the line, I'm first across the line, and no matter what, I'm not getting eliminated? Or do you try and reserve a little bit of energy, gamble a little bit, and be like, no, I just need to not be second to last or last? So interesting to see here. We're going to take another sprint here in just a moment. The next elimination, Moses here now making his way to the front there. It is going to be 8 watts per kilogram on the right-hand side. The orange numbers, whenever you see those orange numbers, you know the riders are going into almost an all-out or a sprint-type effort. As they head uphill now, this is the uphill gradient here now, and it's going to be Moses here on the front. Phillips is going with him as well. Moses leading things out from Madison Genesis. On the back, though, it is going to be Bibby, who's on the back of this here. Dempster up and out of sound for Team Draft. Now is the time to go. Cameron Jeffers coming through in the black kit there for Wahoo CH, and it looks like Jeffers going to take the sprint, but on the back, Kim Little, last year's UK national champion, it looks to be taken out of the elimination race for perhaps 8th place. We'll wait for our commissaire, but he is the reigning national champion, has now been eliminated very early here.
Wow, I did not expect that from Kim Little. We know how strong he is and how experienced he is on Zwift. You can just see him here in your bottom left-hand corner of your screen. He looks a little bit like he's suffering a little bit, but yeah, did not expect that from Kim Little to be eliminated so early in this race.
Yeah, and so he's probably a little bit frustrated with that situation there, and now we do see the commissary coming up and taking him there, letting him know all said and done for Kim Little. So he'll be grabbing 5 points, it looks like, because he was the last one across the line for that 8th, and then we'll have to wait and see what 7th was on the day for the results in just a second here, and that rider will be getting 7 points toward the overall on the day for the national championship. Moses we're looking at here in just a moment, and it is going to be George Pym eliminated. George Pym eliminated from the race. First one of the Madison Genesis boys, but they still have a stacked field out there now to try and take down the rest of the points.
Yeah, they do. George Pym didn't look happy there. Little shake of the head and maybe a little bit surprised. I think he thought he might have been a little bit comfortable, and but yeah, was eventually eliminated in the end. But yeah, still Madison Genesis have got a very, very strong team here. Ian Bibby, John Mould and Tom Moses. They actually raced in the KISS Super League last night, so you know, they're obviously not feeling any effects from that such a big effort, you know, less than 24 hours ago. Here we can just see Tom Moses looking very, very calm and relaxed, and you see he's only pushing 2.7 watts per kilo, so yeah, looking very calm here.
In the upper left-hand corner, we didn't get to the aero power-up, so there's the feather power-up, the drafting power-up, as well as the aero power-up. That is the aero power-up. That is the most coveted power-up in the game, definitely. That is what you want going into any situation when it's a sprint effort or a breakaway effort. It reduces the drag on the avatar by so much that the speeds can get extremely high. Bibby here, and now up toward the front here, Phillips here now 5.8 watts per kilogram, and then it's going to be Dempster here holding on as well, right behind him, following up those wheels. It looks like Canyon ZCC as well as Draft marking those Madison Genesis riders.
Yeah, James Phillips, a relatively new rider here on Zwift and 2 cycling. He actually used to be a badminton player, so he went to 2 Commonwealth Games, Melbourne and Delhi, representing Wales. So, you know, interesting to see he's changed sports. He's come over to cycling, and yeah, he's a strong guy.
Yeah, so now we are seeing Phillips here, Canyon ZCC, and that's actually an elite semi-pro team that's been launched by Canyon and is fully supported for Zwift racing here. And you can see him in the real-life kit there. That's also the Canyon ZCC kit that they're using in-game as well as in real life. It is James Phillips now at about 3.8 watts per kilogram. You can see his heart rate in the upper left-hand corner, 165. I'd say that's about a tempo pace. So the pace is definitely not just holding hands. Maybe a little bit high heart rate, though, also from the nerves, knowing that they're about to come into the next elimination out on course. A drafting power-up now being used, it looks like, by one of the Madison Genesis riders there. I believe that is going to be Mold using that drafting power-up momentarily here, and it looks like he's just using that to reserve rather than to try and attack. That's reserving a little bit of energy. It reduces the amount of wattage, the amount of power that you have to put in the bike to hold onto the wheel in front of you.
Yeah, it's worth noting that the drafting power-up only works when you are in the draft of another rider. It reduces it by 50%, so it's very beneficial. As you can see now, Bibby drops a feather power-up and 2 more draft power-ups have been used. How is this going to affect this next elimination?
Yeah, we do see Bibby here with 12 watts per kilogram. That is with the feather power-up. 1,000 watts, though, coming from Phillips. Phillips is very motivated to stay in this, but Moses and Bibby now breaking away, the 2 Madison Genesis boys. But Cameron Jeffers, every lap, has had this last-second sprint to try and take it down. It looks like he's going to be the first one across the line, but it's about the last 2 across the line. It looks like it's going to be perhaps to Madison Genesis. No, Gavin Dempster comes through right at the last second. I did see the draft jersey come through there, and I believe it's Dempster that was the last across the line. I'm not sure between the Madison Genesis rider and the Canyon ZCC rider which one was off the back. We'll have to wait and see. But Dempster most definitely going to be one of the next ones eliminated here in these final few laps. So that is, we're going to have 2 more to go. 2 more to go. 2 eliminated on this next lap, and 1, well, head-to-head for the top points. No more eliminations because the race is over at that point, but a head-to-head on the final lap.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. We're a little bit unsure. You can see here Gavin Dempster has been told he is eliminated from that lap. We're just waiting to find out who the next rider was, but he was very, very close in the final. That will mean he has 9 points for Gavin Dempster. So you just see here John Mould has been told he's eliminated, so he will take away 11 points, and that will go to his tally. So the points here work out, it's an accumulation of points throughout the 3 races. So not to worry for those 2 riders, I think. They're still able to bring it back. John Mould is a very good track rider as well, so he knows how to race back-to-back, in one day in this style of racing for elimination race, points race, scratch race. So, yeah, I don't think at this point these riders need to worry, but yeah, it's just the points for the first and second, 25 and 20 points for those. It's a big jump.
It's a monstrous jump, actually, up to 25 and 20 points. 5th and 4th, in 6th place, those 13, 11, and 9 points in each section. It's definitely going to be hopeful still. If they do really well in the next 2 races later today, obviously there's a huge opportunity in those. Those that were taking, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th place, they're going to have huge amount of work to do. They're going to be looking for back-to-back wins or at least podiums. I think the idea there is, try and make up as much as we can later with the 5th and 6th places, though, obviously, as it is 3 races, not just the elimination race that we're watching here right now. Now it's getting really cagey, though. Things have completely slowed down. Bibby so much that he just kind of allowed the gap to go there for just a second, then kicked to 8.3 watts per kilogram. A quick little 900 watts or something there coming from Ian Bibby to get back on the back of the pack here, as they did see it completely just calming right on down. All these riders are just watching each other at this point. They know that if a rider breaks away at this point, there's probably not going to be too much working together. Madison Genesis, obviously, they've got the upper hand, though. There's 2 riders in here. They're the only ones that could work together. They could start playing some cat and mouse, start throwing a rider off the front. Somebody sits in and makes the other team or the other solo riders make the chase. If they don't, well, then your rider's just gone and your team's winning.
Yeah, it does make it difficult, but it kind of makes it difficult on Zwift to work as a team anyway, I think much more than in real life racing. But you can see here, actually James Phillips wants to take it up from the front and try and just put the pressure down. Maybe he's more happy at keeping the tempo high. Maybe that's where he thrives. But you can see here, Ian Bibby is coming back. Everyone's all back together. Cameron Jeffers moving up to the front. Just wants to patrol the front of this bunch. But yeah, James Phillips, he's quite happy to keep this tempo going up.
I think what's happening here is no one wants to be on the front. I think actually, we're looking at the watts per kilogram at this point, 1, 0. They're literally just looking at each other. You do it. You do it. No, I'm not taking on this on the front of the pack. This could be a moment here in a second there where, and now Jeffers here for a moment. Maybe just a little bit of a let go there of the pack. He's going to have to kick. Phillips is going to try and take advantage of that here now, as it looks like Jeffers is going to be able to come back, but he might suffer for that. With the amount of speed he's carrying, it might be smart just to go right on by, and that's exactly what he does. He takes advantage of a circumstance that just happened to nip him there for a second, but now he comes right on through and he takes lemons and makes lemonade. Look at this, actually flying off the front, 2 seconds. I don't think he's going to be caught, and we've seen him try and take it at the line each lap before, but this time it looks like he's got a 5-second gap. Cameron Jeffers showing us he's got the power to walk away, it looks like, but now with only 5.9 watts per kilogram, can he close it down? But Ian Bibby's been caught out from that attack from Jeffers, and Bibby cannot close this down. There's just not enough landscape, and it looks like Bibby will be eliminated next.
Yeah, wow. Well, Cameron Jeffers was caught napping, got dropped, put in a big effort, and he goes past them. That was a perfect tactic to counter-attack, just go straight past them. Don't sit, get into the peloton and into the small bunch of riders. Just go straight past them, carry on that effort, and that's what he's done. You can see Bibby here is a little bit unsure whether he should stop riding or not, but he has been eliminated. That was fair and square. It wasn't so close in the final, but it'd be interesting to see who was the second rider to be eliminated. Was it Phillips or Moses?
We do see, it looks like Phillips calming right on down. So I believe Phillips was the next one across the line. I don't even think he had to be told. He was just, look, I'm no longer in this race here, and it is going to be James Phillips next for the third place in the day. So fourth and third place, very respectable. 13 points for fourth, 16 points for third. They're adding up the points, and there is a huge advantage here for those riders to still try and take down at least a podium spot, you know, and at least be in the position to be very confident about a podium spot later in the day here. But Moses here now countered Jeffers' attack for that sprint there. Jeffers, you know, I think at that point might have lost the race because he went so hard and got such a gap, but then he slowed down expecting perhaps Moses just to come back to his wheel. Nope, right on by you now. Same tactic you just used on us, buddy.
Yeah, he's paying for that attack now. You can just see he's trying to get into a comfortable position, but Moses, he's throwing his body all over the bike, trying to get as much power out as possible. But he's got 10 seconds on Cameron Jeffers. What does Jeffers do? Does he save a bit of energy now for the later races, the points race and the Wahoo Scratch race, or should he chase Moses back just to get an extra 5 points? Now, personally, if this was me, and I was Cameron Jeffers, I'd just let Moses go away, take the win in this race, and I'd save the energy for the later races to come.
Yeah, I think that is a smart tag. Looks like that's what Jeffers is going to be doing at this point. It is a very short course, 2.8 kilometers with a 15-second gap. I mean, in a cyclocross race, when with the short laps like that kind of a situation, with about a 15-second gap, usually 15 seconds is like, that's pretty far to close down in this amount of time kind of a thing. I don't think anybody would really want to chase that down at this point. And that would, the kind of effort that would be used for that could be used in the scratch race. That could be used, we've got about a 3 to 4 minute climb in the scratch race that you definitely want to save some energy for. Those are going to be full on VO2 max, everything you got for 3 minute efforts. You also have another sprint race coming up here with the sprint points race in a moment. So, I don't think that we're going to be wanting to use, or at least Cameron Jeffers is not going to be wanting to use too much effort at this point. Roll across the line, keep things steady, and happy to be taking down 20 points and go for a podium or first place. So definitely in contention. But Madison Genesis, Tom Moses, looks to be taking down that solid 25.
Yeah, this is interesting from Moses. He's actually usually like more of a roulette rider, so it's interesting to see he was always up there in those sprints for the elimination. Didn't get eliminated, and now he's using his strength by going off the front, just keeping a high tempo, high wattage. You can just see now he's doing 462 watts off the front here, so very, very impressive. His heart rate's very high actually, 185 beats per minute, so he's still going hard.
Maybe just putting on a little bit of a show for everybody here today with the first ever eRacing National Championships for British Cycling here, but looks like he's calmed down and figured out, nope, 18 seconds, not coming back at this point. Cameron here going to get a little kick as he comes up over the top of that grade, and it looks like as well as he's behind, but now Moses going to be taking that first place on the day here in just a second. 182 beats per minute, starting to calm down as he comes underneath. The Finnish manager is going to be very happy with that result, I think, for Madison Genesis and the teammates.
Yeah, what a great start for Madison Genesis and Tom Moses. Fantastic riding, and yeah, his attack from the previous elimination held off. Cameron Jeffers couldn't respond. He had no response, and he's just going to roll in now to the finish. You can see here.
I think Cameron Jeffers is kind of happy with that, though. That could have been a horrible circumstance actually what happened, and he actually made a great effort for second place there, even though he had been dropped off for a moment there and was able to come right by for second place. Look at though Tom Moses, now Cameron Jeffers there. The efforts from these riders were obviously monstrous. They were working so incredibly hard, and if you look at the breathing here, I mean, obviously Zwift racing, there's nothing like it. I mean, it's so difficult.
Yeah, it's not for the light-hearted. You can just see all the beads of sweat rolling down the face. Moses immediately put a towel around him to try and cool himself down, take away all that sweat, and he's just shaking his legs a little bit, loosen them off, and looks actually very surprisingly comfortable, and doesn't look too fazed by what he's just done, and taking the first win here in the elimination race at the British Cycling Zwift eRacing.
Yeah, probably thinking a little bit about the cool down here at this point. What am I going to do to refuel? You can see that Cameron's taking on a little bit of fuel, maybe some sugar in there. They just use a ton of sugar that is in the body, a lot of what we call glycogen in the coaching world. They're making sure that they refuel, get that sugars or get the energy back into the legs, because they're going to have 2 more races in front of them in just a second. It's a little bit of openers or warm up for them here as they're there taking first and second, obviously. Tom Moses there for Madison Genesis for first place. Cameron Jefferson second for the Cycling Hub. James Phillips in third there for Canyon ZCC. Then it's going to be Ian Bibby also for Madison Genesis in fourth place. John Molden fifth for Madison Genesis. Gavin Dempster for the draft team in sixth place. George Pym for Madison Genesis in seventh. Kim Little, last year's UK national champion, is actually in 8th place. So interesting to see Kim Little there in 8th there for Media Factory Racing. Ed Laverick there for the Cycling Hub in 9th. And then it was Stevie Hug for Canyon ZCC for 10th. Let's head back on over to Laura to the floor for some post-race interviews.
Well, what a race. Really cagey, really tactical. I'm looking forward to hearing the thoughts of our winner, Tom Moses. It was almost over before it began on that final lap, wasn't it? What was going through your mind there in that attack to drop Cam Jeffers?
Well, I just had so much speed running at him, so I did some road tactics really, where I just, instead of waiting for him, I just went straight past, and I was hoping that I'd get a big gap straight away and he'd give up, but he didn't give up until the end, so I had to carry on full lap, flat out, which might be hard later on to back up the other races when you've gone so hard in the first race, when, you know, some lads have only done 5 minutes there, but we've had to do a full 20, so, but we'll see.
Well, I was going to say, of course, top points for the first race, a great position to be in, but what's the preparation now leading on to the points race?
It's similar again, really. I mean, this is just like a points race, really. You've got to sprint every time for the line, and it just happens that there's less and less you every time, which makes it easier in a way, because you don't have to watch as many people. So the points race is a bit harder because it's everyone sprinting every time, so it should be, you know, you've got to look out for a lot more people. So, but I think for me this is perfect. I prefer loads of little sprints rather than one big sprint, so we'll see.
Well, let's hope you get that recovery in. Well done to our winner, Tom Moses. Cam, talk me through that attack. You sort of seemed to be dropped, and then you had so much speed coming back to the group. You went over the top and won the sprint, but was it a bit too much for you coming into the final lap then against Tom?
Yeah, I found myself off the back a little bit, so I had to do a little bit of a sprint to get back on. So I thought instead of trying to sit on and recover again and go for the sprint, I would just hit them straight off and come past them. And yeah, on the descent, we come through the finish line, and Tom just came up behind me far too fast. I kind of wasn't expecting the speed he came past me, and I tried an initial jump to get back on his wheel, but yeah, he played it a little bit more tactical that last sprint.
And then tactical from you as well, just to sit back and relax and say, no, I've got 2 more hard races to come. What's your thinking ahead of the points race and indeed, of course, our final race, the Wahoo Scratch race as well?
I think, yeah, like Tom said, for the next race, it's going to be a similar format to this one, but I think people can play the next race a little bit more tactical, whereas this one, you know, the last 2 people every lap are eliminated, so you can't sort of sit in the wheels and let a sprint go for the next one, whereas I think that's what's going to happen in the points race. And then I think, yeah, the final race is going to come down to a bit of war of attrition. I think guys that have recovered well between the races will benefit from that. And yeah, for example, like this race, me and Tom have done the whole race, whereas some of the guys did 5 minutes. So yeah, I think that'll certainly play into the race later on.
Yeah, we had over 20 minutes there of full gas efforts. Right, over to you, Tom, to dissect the action in that one.
Thank you so much, Laura. I feel like you don't want to win because Laura will make you to continue to cycle even though you've just absolutely gassed it. So that's something to think about. Let's look at the points, though, as things stand after that first race, the elimination race. And as you can see, Tom Moses in the top spot there with 25 points. You'll see that on the right-hand side of the screen. And as Nathan and Hannah, who are sat here with me on the sofa, said so many times, the points drop off dramatically as you get towards the bottom. But at least Stevie Young has got 1 point, and that is something to build on when you look at it in some regards. But again, I said it in the women's race, it's brutal, and lots of things weren't expected. But let's talk about that last sprint between the 2 guys, Cam and Tom. What happened there, guys?
Well, I mean, at a certain point, Cam, as you said, was off the back just a little bit and it had to come through with a solid attack to get that second to last lap. He got through, and then at the end of that second to last lap, Tom Moses countered him after they came through to just walk away. So they didn't have to end up in an actual sprint at the end. It was actually a counter to an attack that Cameron Jeffers kind of had to make because he just rolled right through after he had dropped off the back a little bit. It was really interesting how it played out.
Yeah, indeed. Were you worried, Hannah? Because I was at one point. I thought Tom Moses was going to take off. The amount that he was putting into that bike was just going to... It was for takeoff. He was lining up, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was just getting prepared. It just shows how much power you need to put in
Yeah.
to not be eliminated in a race like this. But yeah, all his body weight was going into that to make sure he didn't get eliminated. And then when he took off on that final lap, to take the win of the race, yeah, fantastic. And he was looked quite fresh at the end, actually.
Yeah, worryingly so. I think everyone can agree with that. However, there were things that were happening in that race tactically. They really slowed down at various points. Kim Little is someone I do want to talk about. We expected, maybe rightly or wrongly, we expected more from him though, didn't we?
Yeah, he was the reigning UK national champion of Zwift from this past year, 2018. Now coming into 2019, we were expecting him to perhaps be a little bit more involved. I don't know if it was a timing thing, maybe just no power on the day here, as it looked like he was fairly well set up, 750 watts. We weren't getting much over that. It looks like I'm used to seeing somewhere in 8, 9 or so. Perhaps there just wasn't enough preparation. I know he's been a little busy perhaps. This is also a different type of a racing situation. He won last year in a drag race sprint on a course on Watopia, which is one of Zwift's other courses. There's a very different course from this course and a very different kind of sprint than we had to see him be in here. Usually it's just the one sprint at the end. This was multiple sprints over and over again. Kim Little off the back.
Yeah.
It's not looking too hopeful for a UK repeat for him for the national championship.
However, there are 2 more races in the men's coming up though, so there still is chance for Kim Little, but as it will pan out, we will see. I just let you guys know that is the elimination race done. It's taken care of, and there's more to come here at the British Cycling Zwift eRacing Championship. Join us again in about 25 minutes when we go live with the women's HSBC UK points race. The men will tackle the same discipline at 5 to 5, and we are live. Oh, it all rhymes. BT Sport 1 tonight from 8 o'clock with the Wahoo Scratch races. So I'll bid you farewell at this point, but don't go far as we've more live action in about 25 minutes. Let's get a cup of tea. Cup of tea? It was, yeah. throw to... Right then, welcome back to the BT Sports Studios in the Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park in London. We are live this afternoon hosting the British Cycling Zwift eRacing Championship. We've seen the men and women compete in the elimination races earlier on, and now it's time for the women to compete in the HSBC UK points race. Now, what does this involve? I hear you cry. Well, Nathan and Hannah are here to explain everything, and I'm loving, I have to say, the audience in the background. We've got a bit of energy now in this studio, but guys, I really want to break down this second race. It's a little bit different from the last one, the elimination. Points are up for grabs, but the maximum is 25 points.
Yes, so there's a championship overall that's being decided through points that you're getting on each race. 3 races. There's points up for grabs for 1st through 10th place. Within this sprint points race, though, there's its own points competition to determine what place you get in this race right now. So it's different than the championship points for the overall. Within this race, you got to grab points to win the sprint points competition.
Got you. So when you're watching it, there'll be points going around. You'll be thinking, I'm a bit lost here. But again, the winner will make a maximum of 25 points. Overall, over 3 races, 75 up for grabs. So Hannah, how does a rider win this race?
Pick up points consistently. This is the way to do it. So you might not win an actual sprint point, take maximum points of 5, but if you take 3 points in one sprint, 2 in the next, you might win 1, take 5. It's the accumulation of what you get at the end of the race which will give you the race win. So I think consistency, picking up points through every sprint would take you to the win.
Okay, points mean prizes, simply as that. Okay, I'm up on speed with that. Listen, we're just moments away from the women's HSBC UK points race, and the men have theirs at 5 to 5. Tonight promises to be dramatic. We are live on BT Sport 1, where we have 2 Wahoo Scratch races. So that's your Thursday night taken care of. Simple as that then. Right, let's have a look at the leaderboard before I pass you over to Laura, who's going to have a chat with the riders. As you can see, Rosamund Bradbury, a fantastic race from her, 25 points in the first one. It really was an incredible finish to that race. Right then, we're fast approaching the start of the women's points race. Laura's with some of the leading protagonists.
I am indeed, Tom. Next to Ro Bradbury, of course, the overall leader. A great performance in that elimination race, but hard fought to the very end. How has the recovery been? It's not been too long, has it?
No, it's sort of warmed down and then start warming up again. So yeah, I think it's going to be who's recovered best, who's going to get the points in this race.
And it is a very tactical one. Like Hannah just said, it's about picking up points consistently. Without giving too much away, what's your game plan?
Well, I think it's going to be a bit of see how it is. I mean, obviously the last lap being double points is going to make a bit of a difference, but yeah, I think every point is going to count here, so go hard in all of them.
Go hard or go home. Well, best of luck to you, our current leader, Ro Bradbury, and we're going to now hotfoot it over to second place, and that is Sharon Bird, all the way over here, handily placed as far away as possible. Sharon, by your own admission, not much of a sprinter. Are you going to go for some of the long ones, maybe a lone breakaway here?
Again, it's just waiting to see how the legs are and how the race plays out. So, yeah, no idea, to be honest.
And what's this experience like for you, racing Zwift in a studio, cameras everywhere? It's a bit different to your conservatory or your garage back home, isn't it?
Totally different. It's a brilliant atmosphere here today, really enjoying it, but not had much time to think about it. I think it'll sink in next week.
Hard racing to come. Well, here we go. The points race is about to begin. We'll hand you over now to our commentators, Nathan Guerra and Hannah Walker.
Thank you so much, Laura. Well, 58 seconds to go to the start in the points race. We're on the volcano course for a counterclockwise on the volcano course. It's going to be about 4.1 kilometers for each lap. This is the volcano is one of the updates to Zwift that was launched, one of the new maps that was launched out on well, additions to one of the oldest maps on Watopia, obviously being one of the oldest maps. But this is a pretty cool looking course here, Hannah.
Yeah, just look at it. You go through the volcano, very exciting, something different, and not something you're going to do in a in real life race. So very, very exciting, but it's going to be a hard little course here. As you can see, you go up and loop round, and then there's a slight little climb in here too.
Yeah, definitely. That is going to be crucial for the sprint competition. It's not a flat sprint. You're going to be coming through what we like to call a two-tier sprint each lap. So it's going to be interesting how they do play that with that uphill gradient for each lap out here. 10 seconds to go. Fast racing's about to take off here. Wonder if they're going to try and drop some racers right from the get-go. They start ramping up. You do want to ramp up immediately before the goal. It is not just a start from a dead stop. It is or at least for the power they're putting out, is not a dead stop, but they're definitely taking it calm here, it looks like, rather than the scratch race type starts that we do see. It is a very, very chill start out of the piers here. Out on Watopia, you're going to be taking a right-hand turn and then heading on over toward the volcano. There is a lead into the volcano here before they actually start the official laps.
Yeah, they have a few kilometers just before they get underway onto the actual course. As you see, they're just about to go through that start-finish banner. So this is it, race underway here.
Yeah, it is going to be on the front. It does look like Jessica did on the front there. We're looking on the right-hand side of the screen for our viewers. It is the riders list on the right-hand side of the screen, and the current rider that is selected is the rider that we're seeing information for in the upper left-hand corner for their power and their heart rate as well as their RPMs. You are also seeing at the top the current speed that they are going, as well as how much distance that they have covered and the time that they have covered. You also get to see how many meters that they have climbed as well. As we're looking at Mary Wilkinson here now, 4.3 watts per kilogram. On the right-hand side of the screen, you can see the watts per kilogram of weight that they're putting on as well. That's actually what moves the avatars forward. A little bit of education about how Zwift racing works or Zwift riding works in the game. You log into the game and you start powering it by watts, but the way that you figure out how fast you go is by your watts per kilogram, how much power you're putting out compared to the weight that you actually have in the game.
Yeah, so it's all about power to weight. This is crucial. You know, these riders have to make sure they're as light as possible, but still maintaining that strong power. As we just saw before, actually, it was Caroline Murray off the start line. She actually got dropped, and she's 7 seconds behind in the beginning of the race. So this is not good start for Caroline Murray. Can she get back on? If she's going to do it, she needs to make it as a now or never, she's 10 seconds behind already. She needs to make this effort now or never, and otherwise it's race over already. You can just see here, she's in no man's land. She's not getting back on, I don't think.
180 beats per minute. Caroline Murray trying to make it happen here, but Team Fearless looks to have lost one rider already. And to get back to a pack on Zwift, you know, there is the reality the community talks about in the community racing all the time. It's a very difficult thing to break away from a pack in Zwift or to get back to a pack that's gotten away from you because of the way they use each other's speed to just continue to build that speed over and over and over again, and then one rider alone, you just can't work against 9.
Yeah, and you've also got that drafting effect. So, you know, a pack of riders is going to be travelling much faster than a solo rider, like you say, because of the speed they're going. They're all wanting to stay with each other. No one wants to get dropped. So the speed just increases, and they're kind of nudging each other out a little bit. But it just, 43 kilometres per hour, whereas Caroline Murray, her speeds won't be up to that. And even if she's putting out the same watts, she just can't get that speed to get back to this leading group.
So yeah, it is going to be a solo ride for the duration of the race. It looks like for Caroline Murray, she's off the back here. We're looking at Corinne Fox now, it looks like here though. 2.9 watts per kilogram, 181 watts, 161 beats per minute. We can see here during the lead-in. Lead-in will be completed in just a moment. That is her first-person perspective we're looking at right now. You can see she doesn't have a power-up. They have not gone through a banner yet. You collect power-ups through banners. Those are additions. Power-ups are an advantage you can gain in the game. You're able to use them in the game. You get one whenever you do go through a start-finish banner or a lap banner, so they'll have a chance on each lap to grab one of those power-ups, and they'll most likely be looking for the arrow to try and win those sprint point competition.
It's worth noting that Corinne Fox was a late call-up after Danny Rowe is now sadly injured. So Corinne Fox had no preparation coming into this championship, so it's great to see her doing so well. And looking quite fresh, she's doing well here.
Yeah, Fox actually holding on a solid 9 points in the overall championship competition right now. So she's sitting pretty well right now to try and maybe have a good result here in the sprint competition and maybe work her way up toward the podium. If it ended right now at this moment for the championship, Wilkinson sitting in third, Bird in second with 20 points, and Bradbury in first with 25. As we're about to start the official laps here in just a moment now. It's going to be Jessup now making way to the front there. Reed there, Bird as well in third place. The KRT rider in the blue kit there with the Tron bike. very, very desired bike in the world of Zwift. The Tron bike, as we call it, or the Zwift concept bike is officially called in game, is one of the fastest bikes in the game that some of these riders are using. You have to climb a monstrous amount, though, in order to earn it. It's an unlock that you get in the game, and a lot of these riders, obviously very experienced Zwifters. Lots of them are going to be very high level, probably some of them level locked at 50, have unlocked all the levels at this point. And obviously being a very fast bike, they've used the very cool looking Tron bike in game.
Yeah, they look awesome, don't they? I mean, I wish in real life bikes looked like this. I mean, I think I'm going to have to get some glow sticks or something and stick it to the bike. They look absolutely awesome. But I think, am I right in saying you have to do the equivalent to Everest to get a Tron bike?
Everest quite a few times, 50,000 meters.
Wow.
So yeah, it's you get to the top of Everest in the game, it shows you that you're at the top, and then you have to keep on going. You thought you were about to get it, and then it tricks you, and you actually have to go to the moon. That's literally what happens when you're unlocking the
But it's
Tron
worth
bike.
it to get a bike like that, hey?
It is worth it to get a bike like that. Brewer here now from Fierce, it looks like we saw just a moment ago. Reed from KRT making her way to the front there. It's going to be Jessit there trying to have a better result than last year, trying to find herself to the front. We're about to hit that 2-tier we talked about as they are going to enter the volcano again here in just a moment. It does look like it's Jessit that's trying to position herself well before that climb. And being in a good position before the climb is so incredibly important, Hannah. Why don't you speak to that a little bit, why that might be?
You can set your own pace, I think, as well. You know, if you set the pace, riders have to follow you. You feel in control, and you can dictate almost of what other riders are going to do. You can also react to those riders who might be wanting to attack. You can see when the numbers start to go orange on your right hand side of the screen, you can see someone is about to make an attack. So if you're up towards the front and you're leading it into the climb, you can react immediately. You know something's going to come. You don't want anyone to come around you and take you by surprise.
Yeah, we are starting into the first little kick before they get to the first sprint points now. And just, well, actually, we're in the lead, and it says at the top here still. But so we got about 0.4 kilometers. But I think Bradbury is going for the sprint here at this point. 9.3 watts per kilogram. We saw her breaking away each and every lap, though. 8.8 watts per kilogram. And in the last race, in the elimination race, she won the sprints outright. She didn't need to, but she just did. And Bradbury being the winner already of the last race here, 25 points on the board. And she's just showing that she can dominate here, looking to keep it. But no, the timing of Mary Wilkinson on this climb with the feather power up. Leah Dixon comes around too, and it looks like the experience of the old school racers is now showing on this day here. And Dixon comes through, it looks like, with that little kick before the line, maybe be able to come over the top of Mary Wilkinson and grab the points. We'll have to wait for the results in just a moment from our commissary here, but it looked to me like Dixon had taken that down.
Yeah, I think so. That was timed that to perfection, both Dixon and Wilkinson to come round Bradbury there. Wilkinson, I was speaking to her yesterday, she does 2 sessions a day on Zwift. So she knows how to do this. She can also, she's fit enough, and she's got that, she can recover well to be able to do sessions like this. So I wouldn't be surprised if she can really come through in this points race now.
Yeah, 2 sessions a day, definitely getting her used to what we're seeing here with multiple races in a single day. Dixon now, it looks like, taking over the front end of the pack here. Wilkinson sitting in now. We do have a couple of riders dropped off, and this might end up being a 4 up for all the sprint points each lap. Interesting to see. You know, this is, as we do see Wilkinson on the front now, they might just start dropping everybody. Brewer now is off the back here. This might just be a race for the top 3 positions for the points as Bradbury's hanging on, Wilkinson and Burton. These were actually amongst the fastest racers in the last race. And so we do see a little bit of conversation with the commissary in the lower left-hand corner, perhaps with some riders being taken out from the race here, or perhaps trying to get back on terms with the race. We'll have to wait and see how this plays out, if we can get some information from the floor on what's happening with the racers there. But Bird here now, 4.1 watts per kilogram now, and it looks like Wilkinson is hanging on to that wheel. She makes her way to the front. So it is KRT Vision as well as unattached Bradbury, current championship leader with points on the front now. Calming things down, keeping it calm here. 4.9, 5.9 watts per kilogram from Bird. Now looking to just kick a little bit into 276 watts to just try and hang on the wheel and not find herself off the back.
Yeah, Brewer really needs to just try and make it back to this group of 3. But as it stands, these 3 riders are working really well together. Bird, Bradbury and Wilkinson. As you can just see, you can see Dixon walking off and leaving her bike. Looks like she may have had a little problem here.
So Bradbury 4.1 now toward the front here. Now, we are getting a little information from our analyst here saying that if Bradbury can win this race, she can take the overall series with just a podium in the scratch race, actually. So if she can take this down. Now, we did see maybe a little bit of an experience difference between Wilkinson and Bird as well, between Wilkinson and Bird in that sprint there just a moment ago against Bradbury, because Bradbury went very early, and it was about 400 or so meters out, and it was that 200-meter kick to the line with that gradient that really matters in this sprint. It's not a proper sprint as far as a flat all-out. It's actually not a sprinter's favorite, maybe, because Wilkinson, being the lighter rider that can kick a high watts per kilogram, a high wattage compared to how much she actually weighs, usually can come around. Bird as well, similar rider as far as that goes. I think Bradbury's more of your classic sprinter, more, of your ruler type or classic sprinter type as compared to these other two riders.
Yeah, and she has a lot of power. She's a former rower, so she's got that real, strength and grit and determination to get through these sprints, and it kind of actually suits her a little bit when it kind of goes uphill slightly, just a small gradient, and she's really got that, can put out so much power. It's raw power.
Yeah, and I'd be watching out for maybe an attack from her to try and get away. That may be like what happens here if she keeps on finding herself in a situation where she cannot take down the sprint up against these two, because it's going to be really difficult perhaps, if they do have that extra watts per kilogram. It really does reward the riders on the climbs with the gradients that they are feeling there, if they are just a little bit more of a climber and a sprinter mix here on this course.
Yeah, definitely. And you see here, you go onto this flat section now. The riders have a little bit of time to rest and recover. You see Sharon Bird here looking very, very relaxed as the group looks like it's actually coming back together.
Yeah, it does look like it's coming back together here. Jessica here now we are seeing 4.6 watts per kilogram, 1.1 now we are seeing here. It looks like Fearless here now as well. Murray, Brewer, all back together now it looks like. And now we are seeing Reed here making their way to the front now. And now it's going to be a group again as they head back into the volcano. And left-hand turn in just a moment here and back onto a little bit of a gradient. Again, it's the two-tier on here that somebody could try and get away again here, but a lot of times it's a little bit early if the pack is all together.
Yeah, it's interesting to see those riders don't just stay together and work together when they were a three, because they were all going to take points. But now the whole race is back together. It's kind of the points are open, and who's going to take the next sprint? You can just see it's Murray here on the front, Wilkinson in second wheel, Bird up there as well. And we're just watching Jessie. You can see her watts here, 300 watts going up here and 178 beats per minute. So you can just see the effort that they're having to put out.
Yep, Bird to the front here, 5.9 watts per kilogram here. Jessit now 6.8. I'm not sure they're going to go for the sprint here as we're waiting on a couple of things in the background here to figure out whether or not we're going to have this play out here. Jessit now 5.9 watts per kilogram. Looks like he's interested in taking the sprint though. Wilkinson sitting on though. Bradbury staying there with it too. Brewer 6.8 now on the back there. 340, 182 beats per minute. Pretty hot in the volcano as well as next to the riders here at this moment. They are going to go for it here. 8 watts per kilogram up into those orange numbers again. Bird's going now too. Left-hand side now, it looks like. But it looks like as they do come through, 2 laps to go, but I believe we are going to be having there were a couple of technical issues. So just so everybody knows, there were a couple of technical issues, and we're going to have a pause or a stop on the race, and we'll have to get some background information in just a moment as to how this is going to play out. I believe for a restart is what I am hearing, perhaps. A restart on the races. There were a couple of technical issues for a few of the riders. Maybe a dropout that had happened. Like in real life racing, once in a while you do have a flat tire or something like that, or perhaps they're, crit racing. If you've ever had a situation where you break apart on the bike and you have to go into the pits, you get the bike fixed and re-enter to the race. Maybe something like that we're seeing here, Hannah. Yeah, that's what you can relate it to, either a mechanical or a puncture, or even a crash, for instance, in real life racing. So yeah, it's I think Leah Dixon, look at, she's smiling now. She's music to her ears, I think, because you could tell she's up there for the overall standing. She's in with a chance of winning. So when she had a bit of a technical issue, you could tell she was very angry and she wasn't happy with the situation. So, yeah, nice that she's smiling and
get another chance now.
Yeah, I'd be happy too. I'd be happy to after everything that's gone down to get here. We are being told by our race analyst that the lava inside the Watopia volcano is 1,000 degrees Celsius. That's what's keeping things pretty hot. And
wouldn't want to crash into that, would you?
What's happening with some of the tech? Maybe a little bit with the race being stopped there with a little bit of the tech with the 1,000. Thanks a lot to the race analyst on that one for sure. But as we do get restarted here, let's talk a little bit about the tactics that are still going to be played out between the riders, where things are at for the standings at this point. Bradbury obviously with 25 points taking the win there, but Bird and Wilkinson, they're in second and third, and that's actually how we saw things play out between the riders being in those top three there. Everybody else was kind of just uninvolved and off the back here. Now I'm not sure why that was between. I wasn't sure why that was between the riders in the points or not, and whether or not it was the power that they just had. But we're going to go over to Laura on the floor to have a little chat with Leah about maybe what happened there.
Yes, I'm right down here. Obviously, the race is going to be restarted. We've got the riders here just still spinning their legs, but I'm here with Leah. Talk me through what happened, what you saw on your screen, because I just saw your hand fly up and looking very stressed.
Yeah, the screen just went black, so I don't know whether a lead came out or power out, but yeah, just like that, basically.
Okay, it has gone black again. We are trying to get this fixed as soon as possible. And what happens now? You're obviously full of lactate in your legs. You step off the bike, now you're back on. What goes through your mind?
Well, I'm glad to be back in, obviously, but I guess now I just need to try and calm myself back down and get on with it, really.
And of course, that's the effect it had on Leah, whose computer did go down. But what about the effect on some of the riders who are still here racing? Of course, it's just like a mechanical on the road, like a mechanical in a crit race. That's going to put you out. Corinne, for you, what effect has this had?
I'm loving the thought of doing it from square one again.
We're starting again, a bit of recovery time.
It's exactly what I wanted. But no, I totally understand. If it was me, I'd want the same, so it's fair.
Yeah, all is fair here. Right, Tom, I believe you're with our commissaire who's made the decision.
Indeed, I am, Laura. Thank you very much. I love the attitude from Corinne there. She is excited to start this all over again, as I'm sure you are. But hey, at the end of the day, mechanicals happen. This has happened. So, George Gilbert, Chief Commissaire, talk us through the reason for restarting and what actually happened.
So there was a technical problem, not with the rider, not with their bike or anything like that, but there was a technical problem with the back-end system. The general principle here is that if there is a problem with the rider, perhaps their chain has snapped or the seat post comes loose, that's their fault. Okay. They haven't maintained their bike properly and so on. At which point then, well, if the rider's disadvantaged, so be it. In this case, though, it wasn't something that they had any influence over whatsoever, and therefore it's entirely fair and appropriate to give them another chance. Indeed. So with Zwift, you can't neutralise the race, so we had to stop it. We'll restart it again, and therefore the rider won't be at a disadvantage.
Indeed. I don't suppose you expected to be at the sofa at any point today, George.
No,
so
I definitely didn't.
It's a bonus for everybody. We get to see, but we also get to understand there are rules in place, there are procedures that you follow, and so everyone at home can see that the professional level that has been put into this is a top tier.
Yes, very much. We've spent months looking at the rules for this, making sure that the integrity of the event is preserved. Both in terms of making sure that we've got a high quality event, so an appropriate winner, but also in terms of, you know, if something goes wrong, then we have all the right rules and processes in place so that we can handle that.
Yeah, indeed. And obviously people might have seen as well, Rider 2, Caroline Moe, is out of the whole race completely, and that must be out of the event. So, so there you go. That injury there, so that's not a technical issue there on that one?
No, and so that's just racing for her, yes.
Yeah, and the heart rate up to 180 throughout the race, quite intense to say the least on that. But if you were looking at the other riders and how they have to restart again, they'll be refueling now, but they can all know, right, if that had happened to me, I'd have been looked after.
Absolutely, yeah. As I said before, the fundamental principle is around fairness. And if something happens that is not their fault, then we will do our best to rectify that.
Indeed. And so far, the first race, there were no technical issues that happened. It was a smooth race, but this actually does happen in actual cycling racing. So you know that you know, it's a mechanical, they would call it in that situation.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so obviously we're going to get back to the race as soon as we can, and we've got the audience behind there. They've got puzzled faces, but the smiles will come out. And I have to say, amazing team that are running at the moment. The way they put the mic on, George, was phenomenal. Let's have a look at the leaderboard at the moment, just to remind everybody where we are at. And as you can see there at the top from race 1, the elimination race, Rosamund Bradbury, 25 points at the top. Sharon Bird in second place with 20. So an opportunity for everyone to put more points on their board, and obviously heading into the Wahoo Scratch race. Now, I believe Laura is by the riders and everyone is being set up. How are they feeling down there, Laura? I hate to put you in this position to ask them right now.
Well, you've put me in it, Tom, so thanks very much for that one. I'm joined now by Lexi Brown. Lexi, what goes through your head? What are your feelings right now? You were full gas in a race, going up for the sprint, you stopped, and now you've got to kind of get yourself back up into the zone again.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's all just about calming the heart rate, spinning the legs, trying to recover as much as possible. I mean, if it happened to me, I'd want the commissaire to restart the race as well. So it's just, yeah, head down and get back in.
And then I come along and shove a microphone in your face, and that heart rate just peaks a little bit one more time. And we've got Miriam just here. You're just pairing your device and signing on in. You've got shut up legs written here on your bike, just as a reminder to you to keep going through the pain. How was that first scratch race going for you? Sorry, points race going for you before the stop?
It really picked up because we caught onto the lead group and I managed to get third in the sprint. So I'm pretty disappointed to be starting again, but that's sport.
Yeah, and it's, you know, we've got to be fair, of course, to Leah as well. Game plan moving ahead into this now new points race?
Just try my best.
Try your best, that's all you can do. Not giving anything away when we've got the riders here all lined up with just a few minutes to go before we start here, restart. Let's see what our commentators make of it. Hannah, Nathan, what are you thinking?
Yeah, so thanks a lot, Laura. So a little bit of frustration, obviously, on the floor as well, but some hope as well from some of the other riders, maybe to try and gain an advantage as well from the situation. Now, this happens in real-life racing as well as it happens in esports all the time. In esports, you have a pause button that you can push, and we see it often in esports, actually, where maybe someone's mouse isn't working for a moment, or maybe something's happening on screen, and it's like, there's a tech issue here that we have to take care of. Boom, they push a button, or they say to someone who's watching there, hey, we need to pause the event. And you see this often. We go and have some conversation like we're having here for a second about what's going on in the background, what's happening with maybe the standings, but also in real life cycling. So it's these two worlds meeting with sometimes something happens.
Yeah, in layman's terms, you know, this what effectively what has happened is if you were to puncture in a race, or you had a mechanical, or you snap your chain, or you know, a crash. So it happens in real life racing and it happens in e-racing too. So yeah, it's good that all riders will get a fair chance to get back into the race. Leah Dixon, you know, is one of those riders who will be challenging for the championship. So, you know, you could see her disappointment immediately, whereas, you know, Miriam Jessett, she scored in that points, the second points sprint. So she's a little bit disappointed that it got stopped and she'll have to start again. So, but I think the main thing here, we keep it fair and everyone gets a fair chance to run at this championship.
Yeah, 100%. And the idea of keeping it fair, I think, with the technical issue on the screen there being, I really liked bringing in the commissary there and giving exactly what the rules are. Everybody knows exactly what's happening here, why, what the reasoning is behind it, and the fact that there was zero control whatsoever from that point of view for the rider, and not giving her any advantage at all whatsoever, but just keeping it fair between all the riders really is the story here.
Yeah, it's great to see the commissaires giving their view and opinion, because, you know, you don't see them in real life racing generally, but they're always there in the background, making sure everything's sticking to the rules, you know, it's all fair play. And great to hear from George of what he thinks and the protocol and the what they're going through now to rectify everything.
So what's interesting to me as well is it those three riders, Sharon Bird, Mary Wilkinson, Bradbury as well, they were off the front three, they had this pack going. Was that really what was going on there? You know, we'll have to find out here in just a moment as the race is going to start. We're going to head back over to Laura, though, it sounds like, over on the floor.
Yes, just a minute and a half or so until we actually restart, of course, this points race. If there wasn't pressure before, Ro, there is now, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, it's just tough to start again, tired legs, but same for everyone. So, yeah, it'll be a hard race.
it will be a hard race. And I think tactics may just change. Corin, when I spoke to you before, you were happy for it to be starting again. Do you still feel the same way now?
Yeah.
Not so sure.
Yeah, no, tired legs, but it's the same for everyone, and that's what, you know, it's an extra 4K. I was just thinking if it had been in the third lap, that would have really sucked, but no, it's good.
Well, best of luck to you. I'm just going to nip round here. Quick chat with Mary. Your emotions, feelings right now?
I'm pleased Leah's back in. It's only fair. Everyone wants to win fairly, and I think it's the right decision. Not looking forward to another 3.5 laps though, but anyway.
Well, there we go. Here we go. The race about to start. Over to our commentators, Nathan and Hannah.
Well, we're about to get going again. We're out on Watopia for the Volcano counterclockwise race here for the Sprints Point competition in the eRacing National Championships for the UK. And, you know, this is really, really exciting as far as the Sprint Points competition goes. There is a little bit of a difference between each lap here. So, you know, we'll have to wait and see how this is going to go. For the final sprint is actually worth double points. So you really want to hang in to the final here. Speaking of hanging in, we get going for the start of the race here. 7.2 watts per kilometer from Jessit. She's not sitting around this time, it looks like. You know, if you're going to make me do this twice, I'm going to do it right the second time, it looks like, with a 1 second gap immediately. Fox tries to follow it up there very quickly there with a little bit of a kick. Reed, 5.0 watts per kilogram. Can she hang on and look for Bird's wheel maybe? But no, it's going to be Brown and Reed a little bit off the back. Can they get back here, Hannah?
Yeah, they need to make sure they get back to these riders sooner rather than later, because
so it looks like Bird here now from Vision now hanging into the middle of the pack. 270, 350 watts, 155 beats per minute. Again, in the upper left-hand corner, you can see the stats that we are reading out there. And on the right-hand side, though, you do see the watts per kilogram that the rider is putting out, as well as their country flag. And up at the top, you can see the speed that they are traveling, as well as how many kilometers that they have, or the distance that they have done, as they have not done any kilometers. Well, about a half one. I guess that counts, Hannah.
yeah, they've already done almost one lap and one sprint, but 0.6 kilometres complete. You just see Sharon Bird here in your right-hand corner.
Yeah,
I think it's great that they've restarted the race and given everyone a fair chance to get back into the game.
Yeah, 100%. Sharon Bird, a lot of focus on the on the face here, coming from Sharon from Vision now, and she's looking really calm. And it looks like perhaps the restart here has maybe brought everybody just down just a notch here amongst how hard they're going to go from the get-go here, and maybe let this play out a little bit before they actually hit that two-tier. Some of these riders now have seen what the experience of hitting that two-tier sprint is going to be like, and perhaps they're going to wait up for that a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think as well, everyone's seen how strong each rider is in the sprint. So Mary Wilkinson, Rosamund Bradbury, they were up there before in the sprint, so they know what to expect. People want to try and keep it together. You already have Leah Dixon just going off the front here. Leah was the rider who had a little bit of technical problems earlier on. Mary Wilkinson closing that gap, but we know who the strongest riders are going for this points sprint. And the other riders will be watching them. They don't want to make it too hard on the climb, because we saw a few riders just struggling on that climb, so they'd rather keep it together as much as possible and leave it as late as possible to make that sprint to the intermediate sprint for the points.
We did see Leah there really out of the saddle and pushing a fairly high wattage there and a very high heart rate, 185 beats per minute. I'm wondering whether or not that's close to her max heart rate. Or, I mean, is she over threshold? Threshold being about what you can hold for 1 hour straight, or maybe a little over that. But is she putting everything at the start of this race? I've seen her really, really concerned, it looks like, as to whether or not she's in the top 3 positions at every second here. Hannah, speak to her a little bit. Is it that important at this point to make sure you're in those top 3 positions and even risk a little bit of extra energy?
I think at this moment you're fine anywhere in the bunch. I mean, it's not like you've got a huge bunch. There's only there's 9 riders left now after Caroline Murray has sadly had to withdraw due to injury. But I think when you start leading into the climb and on the climb, you want to make sure you're in 2nd, 3rd, maximum 4th position before you start to open up your sprint. So at the minute, I think they're fine, but you can just see a rider at the bottom. It looks like she's struggling a little bit with this effort.
Yeah, definitely looking like some suffering is going on here with the rider here on the left-hand side of the screen here. I believe that might be Brown here now, and now it is going to be Fox now moving to the front, though. Jessit now taking over the pace at the front end of the pack here. Mary Wilkinson is just chilling out a little bit, though, it looks like, at the front of this pack, making sure she's not taking the wind to the face, not pulling the group around, but just making sure she's always in the top 2 positions at all points here. They are going to be heading into their first lap in just a moment as they are heading into the volcano for the first time. We're being told that the points for the first lap will be provisional until second lap is complete. So we'll have provisional on the points for the first lap until the second lap is complete. And then we'll be able to get all of the official results after the second lap. So we'll be watching for those provisional. We'll call it as we see it, and then after that we'll get you the official results after the second lap here. Leah Dixon here out in the front again. Really seems to be motivated to keep that heart rate over 100 beats per minute.
Yeah, she's very happy to ride on the front. We saw in the first race, in the elimination race, she was very, very happy to take it up from the front and lead. Maybe that's where she's most comfortable. Maybe that's what she's used to. You know, riders are playing to their strengths and their strengths only. You know, you want to make sure that you're doing what you're doing. Kind of, you have to keep an eye on the other riders, but play to your strengths and do what works for you.
Yeah, you do see Leah Dixon now again on the front here. There's her in real life as well as avatar that's being controlled by the power she's putting into those pedals right now. And she does look fairly calm though. You know, at a 180 beats per minute, you couldn't tell from the look on the face. The suffering is definitely not there. So perhaps the max heart rate for Leah Dixon may be up into the 200s. We'll have to wait and see if we do see heart rates that high when things really start to heat up on course.
Yeah, but I think also riders are able to maintain such a high heart rate for such short periods of time. So, you know, this race is going to last for around 20 to 25 minutes. Riders can sustain that. You know, it's like riding on the track or in a criterium. You can sustain that high heart rate for a very, very long, for a very short period of time. So, yeah, I think she could be near a max, to be honest, but I think it's doable and it's maintainable.
Yeah, we do see now, it looks like the Zwift All-Stars kit that Leah Dixon is using. That is a kit that she was awarded for being a part of the Zwift All-Stars team that was a part of the Pro League that has been going on for the last few weeks. I believe we had round number 6 this past week, and Leah Dixon, obviously a very strong rider from the community here, being awarded that spot on that team here, and obviously a very strong rider here with these top 10 women for the national championships, looking to get another jersey awarded to her at the end of the night. Now, as they do head into the first sprint here, 188 beats per minute here, kicking a little bit of 5.7 watts per kilogram. Are we going to see orange numbers? There they go, 9 watts per kilogram coming from Dixon now, 190 beats per minute. It starts climbing as they're going to head toward this first sprint point.
As they go into the volcano now, you know, Leah Dixon leading it out once again. She really wants to show these riders why they have restarted the race for her. You know, you could see before she was very annoyed that, you know, she had a technical issue, but she's just showing those riders now. She's out the saddle, putting that power down, 474 watts. She's over 500 watts now, 196 beats per minute, 103 RPM. She's really giving it now, but now here comes Rosamund Bradbury and Mary Wilkinson. Who's going to take the sprint? Someone's dropped her featherweight power up already.
Yep, Bradbury there looks to be coming across the line there with that feather power up and 8 watts per kilogram. It looks like with 3 laps to go. Bradbury perhaps took it down. Wilkinson, we've been talking about her often as one of the favorites out there, grabs just maybe enough points to really contend the overall for this sprint points competition out here. Dixon comes through here to take the lead again. Maybe a little bit of a counterattack even from Dixon at 4 watts per kilogram. That is a pretty solid effort actually after a sprint. So Rosamund Bradbury, though, it looks like did take that down. These are going to be provisional though until we finish this second lap out here though. So now it is Brewer from Team Fearless. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the teams out on Zwift, let's give a little bit of a shout out to what these kits are that you're seeing. The Zwift All-Stars, obviously with the light blue, orange, and white kit there. We are seeing an unattached rider there, not using the kit. It looks a team kit in game that is just that Zwift branded kit that you saw go by there just a moment ago. Wilkinson now, it looks like they're in the KRT kit, I believe, on the right-hand side. Now up toward the front there, that is the KISS Racing team. That is the blue kit now you're seeing with the yellow Tron bike. Fearless is going to be in the neon yellow kit there. We do have the provisional HSBC UK points race results now. Rosamund Bradbury there with the 5 points. Mary Wilkinson with 3. Miriam Jessup with 2. And Leah Dixon coming through for 4th place with that 1 point on the board. Now again, these points are not for the championship. There are points awarded for each race in the championship. championship. 3 races. Within this race, there's a sprint competition with points that they're battling for to win this race and win the points for this race overall, which is the based on the places they take in the points competition, or in the sprint competition. So lots of points over the place that we were saying. Sprint competition, there's 4 places, 5 to the first place, 3, 2, 1, then through the rest. So we'll see how this ends up playing out. Obviously, the first one taken there by Bradbury, showing that she's got a kick. We were maybe a little bit wrong there about the, ruler versus and pure sprinter versus maybe some of the punchier riders on the climbs.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think Liam Dixon may have gone a little bit too early there when she let it out, but she had to do what she had to do. She still scored 1 point, which, it was great, put her name up on the leaderboard, but Rosamund Bradbury, she's just got such raw power. She's good on the flat, she's good on the climb, she's good at this, sprinting against other riders, and Mary Wilkinson just pulling a few grimacing faces there. That's the first time we've seen her really look like she's suffering. This is her riding style, man. Sometimes you see a rider who's rocking and rolling, but this is Mary Wilkinson's style, and I'm sure we don't need to worry that she's suffering that much.
Yeah, she's been very consistent so far in the 2 races here, that's for sure. Now, speaking of who's suffering, though, Reed is off the back by 21 seconds. Riding solo, though, at this point, as it looks like Fox was unable to hold on to her wheel, who also got dropped off. It's going to be Fox and Brown, though, that are going to be working together to try and pull back Reed. There is a battle behind here a little bit, but there are no points on the line for them at this point. So, perhaps we'll have to see if they can get back on terms with each other and then work together to try and pull this group back. There is the opportunity for that, and the reason I would say there is because it's a sprint competition. They're not going to care to work together too much. They're going to want to wait for the line to really battle each other.
Yeah, but I think if these riders do work together well, and there is a lull in this front group, there is an opportunity for them to get back. But they have to make sure 100%. They work together well and, take turns on the front and work well together. They'll still be wanting to, they won't feature in the points, which are every lap, but they still will be battling to try and get the best points possible for the overall championship, which will be given for their placing they finish in this race. So I think you've still just got to keep pressing on, but then, you look at the timing now, they're down to 50 seconds behind, and Claire Reid is down to 32 seconds behind this front group now. So to be honest, I think it's going to be very, very difficult.
Yeah, it is, and it looks like that gap is just going out. So this group is walking away from those riders that have been dropped from the pack here. Marion Jessup, though, now as you are seeing here on screen, making her way toward the front end of the pack here momentarily. They're about to take a kick into this 2-tier again as this left-hand turn into the volcano here for the next sprint point. Trying to position herself well at the front here. There's this reality of fade climbing, taking on a little bit of energy there. It looks like there's some water and perhaps a little sugar in there to try and grab some extra energy before the sprint here. You don't want to be drinking too much. How much oxygen you need to make this happen, when you're at 180 beats per minute, just to get a little sip is extremely difficult.
Yeah, and sometimes actually it makes your heart rate go even higher when you take a drink, because for that 1 or 2 seconds when you drink the drink, you aren't breathing, you're not taking in that oxygen, which is so crucial when your heart rate is so high. But sometimes you do just need to wet the mouth, and sometimes you just feel like you need to take that drink. These riders will be keeping hydrated in between the races, but yeah, it's very, very important. And like you say, if they've got some energy drink in there or some sugar in those drinks, it just gives them that extra little boost.
All right, here we go now. They are definitely looking to be well positioned before the sprint here, and Jessup now 3.4 watts per kilogram, or about 250 watts toward the front. Bird, though, is the rider that we're looking at here, and Bird now kicking a little bit, 6.1 watts per kilogram. They're very patient this round. They figured out that it's all about this last kick. They haven't gone early here. We're into the last like 200 meters or so. There's a couple of power-ups, drafting power-ups. Bird's not using this arrow power-up, which is interesting. It's tactical perhaps to try and hang on to it, but it's going to be important to try and take this down, but too little, too late, I think, and Bird maybe just able to grab that 1 point at the end, but it's going to be Wilkinson, I believe, that was able to perhaps get the points. We'll have to wait for the official results from the commissary, but there's the KRT kit and the KRT rider. She didn't have the strongest power-up to take that, but she kicked at the right time, and I don't know if it was just timing. That was just raw power, it looked like, for Mary Wilkinson to get across the line in first.
Yeah, perfect timing, but, just a little too late from Sharon Bird. She had the perfect power-up as well with the aero. She clicked it too late as well, because as you saw when she went over the finish line, she still had the power-up still going on. So, yeah, just real timing error there by Sharon Bird, but, yeah. fantastic power from Mary Wilkinson.
I think that that's a little bit of a feeling a little torn about what to do with it, because there is a reality that you don't have a high chance of grabbing another aero power-up, and perhaps she thought, I can win this sprint without using this. Save it for a later sprint, and because of, you know, a little bit of like indecision, oh no, it's a little too late now, but you used it. Do I use it? Do I not use it? Oh, okay, I'll use it. And next thing you know, you're no longer involved in the sprint. Maybe a 4th place there, it looked like, for her. We'll have to wait for the official results here on this second sprint here in just a moment to see who's currently leading, because I do not believe Bradbury took that one down.
No, I don't think so. I think Mary Wilkinson might have just nipped that one. It's interesting to see the riders' different riding styles. Sharon Bird grinding the gear, putting out a lot of power, but likes to ride with low cadence, whereas you can see like Rosamund Bradbury likes to keep the cadence high and really, you know, stick to that rhythm. She is constant. She never likes to grind the gear.
Yeah, we are seeing Wilkinson now calming things down at the front, though. It seems like the pace has dropped just a little bit here as we do get the points competition, HSBC UK points competition just for this lap. Who took this down? It was Sharon Byrne we're seeing here, followed up by Mary Wilkinson, and then Miriam Jessett and Leah Brewer. Now, we'll have to wait and see how that ends up playing out between the riders here, but interesting to see on that here. We'll have to wait and see how that ends up for the overall after 2 laps here. Wilkinson now 3.4. Things have definitely calmed down, though, between the riders here, as we're no longer seeing 4 watts per kilogram. Or for those of you wondering again, what is this watts per kilogram? What are we talking? I know it's something that we're referencing a lot because it's very important for how fast you go in the game. And so a lot of people who are familiar with racing out on Zwift are going to know, or riding race training, they're going to be very familiar with this idea of watts per kilogram, because it's all about how fast you're actually going to go on a bike. Watts per kilogram is king when it comes to winning bike races. So we're going to be referencing that a lot during the broadcast, is obviously because on the right-hand side, how fast they're going is going to be dictated exactly by the power to weight ratio.
Yeah, and it's worth noting that all these riders were weighed before the race this morning. So we had an official weigh-in at 11 o'clock where all riders were weighed with the commissaires there. So then their weights were put into the game, and this would determine what their watts per kilo would be. So, yeah, incredible watts per kilo we've been seeing, though, throughout all the racing. You know, as soon as you can see the numbers go up into orange when they really, really put down power. So if they're sprinting, it'll go to orange. But yeah, incredible power here, but they're just having a little bit of a lull. Leah Brewer here, 5.5 watts per kilo. Is she going to make a bit of an attack here, because everyone else is at around 3?
Yeah, it's calmed down, though, obviously, here. You know, we saw a lot of the riders. Leah Dixon, even at the beginning of the race, we did see a solid, 200, 300 watts here coming from her at the beginning of the race. We saw the heart rate very high, something that people, I think, in the audience could relate to a little bit more. Now, all this data works in conjunction with each other, right? So if you're familiar with heart rate, at a very high heart rate, at 180 beats per minute, you can relate to that here. We are seeing here the race leader, Mary Wilkinson, actually, at this point. She's the race leader, not in being at the front of the race. Being the race leader, she's accumulated the most points in this sprint competition right now. So Mary Wilkinson, a little bit of a shake of the head there, obviously feeling good, loosening up, getting ready for the next sprint that's about to come here in about a K or so. So then we take a left-hand turn again on that 2-tier, very important part, but they've been very patient each lap. A lot of times I'm used to seeing them go very early on that first kick and then try and just hold on with the drag race, but they've been patient waiting for that final kick to the line, it seems like.
Yeah, I think they learned from those first initial sprints that when they went early, they were going too early and then they were getting caught and nipped on the line. Now they know not to go too early. The key point is make sure you pick up points in the sprint. That's all that matters. It doesn't matter if you're going for a long one or an attack, because if you get caught, you end up with no points. So this is the crucial moment. There's a national title on the line here. You're going to get a jersey, and this is what all these riders are thinking about. So, yeah, they're all just playing it very, very cleverly.
Yep, Mary Wilkinson up and out of the saddle here as we do see they head into the next sprint, and it's going to be Wilkinson here, 396 watts, 174 beats per minute as the heart rate does rise, as the watts go up, and the more power you got to put out, the harder the body has to work here, and the RPMs come down just a little bit, and that is because you saw the RPMs change there. That is because of the trainer that they are. They are smart trainers. They are feeling the gradient. You do see the gradient that she's experiencing in the upper right-hand corner. This is the first person's perspective. This is exactly what Mary is currently seeing. This is her perspective. perspective of the game. And you can see that 0% gradient is what she's currently experiencing. We do see power-ups starting to be launched here as they head into this next sprint point. Across the banner, they're going to be awarding them for the top 4 across. And Mary Wilkinson here now trying to hold on to the wheel of Dixon. Bird is going a lot earlier here now. 10 watts per kilogram coming from her. Bird's coming from behind here without any power-up, coming flying right on by the riders. No power-up and maybe going to win it, but Bradbury with a lot of luck in her pocket ends up across the line with that feather power-up. But it looked like Bird maybe taking second, Wilkinson perhaps her third, maybe saving up for a last lap win to try and win the whole thing. As she was the leader just a moment ago, Bradbury maybe grabbing a few points. We'll have to wait for how the points competition and our commenters let us know how it's worked out between them on this next lap.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Bradbury's just taken the overall race lead from Mary Wilkinson. Little shake of her head as the power-up was decided there from Mary Wilkinson. She didn't get the power-up she wanted or needed. She just got some XP, so a little bit of a shame for her, but yeah, hopefully on the next lap she'll be definitely wanting an aero or a feather.
Yeah, interesting to see. Bradbury as well. No power-up that I'm seeing in the upper left-hand corner, so Wilkinson and Bradbury perhaps in a little bit of a disadvantage here now. Dixon Brewer here now we are seeing here, and it is going to still be Jessett involved as well. So interesting to see. We've got a much larger group than we saw the first time around before that. A little bit of a restart here. So 6 riders battling it out here. Zwift, British Cycling Zwift eRacing National Championships are taking place right now in front of your eyes, and this is race number 2. We just had an elimination race before this. Now we're heading in the final lap of the sprints points. After this, we're going to be having a scratch race later tonight for these women to battle it out for that National Championships jersey for 2019. Now we're looking at Rosamund Bradbury here now. 180 beats per minute and 250 watts being produced to produce a speed of 41 kilometers per hour with the rest of this pack here. Now, drafting in the game. Speak a little bit to that here. I mean, there is the reality that these riders just have to work less if they position their avatars correctly, just like in real life.
Yeah, the draft effect is just the same as in real life racing, so you do benefit from being in the wheels of the riders. If you have you can see at the bottom of your screen the graph. You can see the red parts. This is where Rosamund Bradbury has been making her effort. So this shows how hard and how high her power has gone up in those points sprints. And you can see the other parts where it's like blue and green. She's kind of just chilling a little bit. Her watts are 221 watts. You can see here on the left-hand side of your screen, confirmed for the points for sprint 3. Rosamund Bradbury taking 5, Sharon Bird 3, Mary Wilkinson taking 2, and Leanne Dixon taking the 1 point.
Yeah, and now at the bottom of the screen, that is a great graph actually momentarily on the bottom of the screen showing us exactly those sprint points. The colors that you're seeing on there are actually specific to the riders. Those colors that you're seeing there are their zones for working out. The gray part is like a zone 1. There's 5 zones when you're working out in cycling actually, and it's showing us exactly how hard the riders have been working. Zone 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 all have different colors. Obviously, you're going to be going into the highest zone, the orange numbers that we're seeing also on the right there. That's going to be represented there in that graph we're seeing at the bottom. So you can see each one of the sprint points. You can also see the kind of tempo and the amount of effort that's been having to be played for these riders to hang in the pack at those lulls that we see between each one of the sprints.
Yeah, just shows how much how little watts you have to put out when you are in those wheels as opposed to being on the front or making a real effort. 1.5 kilometers to go now until the next sprint. Sharon Bird wanting to take it up from the front. Rosamund Bradbury just wants to keep an eye on her because, she could take this championship from them.
Yep, that's for sure. Bradbury with the win in the prior competition that was the elimination race. She's going to be looking to repeat here most likely. Wilkinson as well, one of the favorites coming into the race, is looking to get a little bit of revenge here perhaps in the sprint points competition. Maybe a course that suits her a little bit better. Again, I do still think that Wilkinson is looking forward to the scratch race with quite a lot more climbing involved in that race. Being in the Zwift Academy this past year, she actually won a TT to the top of a mountain in the Zwift Academy talent search actually that Zwift had. So I would be watching out for her in that climb. There's Mary Wilkinson with that cadence and that little steady rock from her. It's almost like she's listening to some music and getting into the rhythm there to try and win this competition.
Yeah, she's like, her body's in this rhythm. She doesn't want to break it, and it's the same every time, every race. And she just looks so comfortable, but her body's just rocking into this rhythm. It's brilliant. Here you can see the total points here on the left-hand side. Rosamund Bradbury leads from Mary Wilkinson, Sharon Bird in 3rd place, and Leanne Dixon in 4th. So looks like, unless Sharon Bird and Leah Dix can do something, I think this is how it's going to play out. It's just between Wilkinson and Bradbury for the win of this race.
Yeah, and that's, again, just for this race. At the end of this race, there'll be points awarded for the position that they do take for the points competition. But Rosamund Bradbury there with 13 and Mary Wilkinson with 10. Mary has to beat Rosamund to the line. That's what it's all about right here for Mary Wilkinson. She'll beat Marginer. Actually, she has to win this sprint. That's what has to happen right now. She not just beat Rosamund Bradbury, she has to win the sprint outright right now. And as we saw earlier, I do not believe she has an aero power up, but she is on the front though, and looking perhaps to get the jump on the rest of the riders here. Bradbury's marked her as well. It's between these two riders for the win, but the other riders are going to be looking to perhaps get an advantage as well and get onto the leaderboard, because all of the points are on the line for the championship. Wilkinson up and out of the saddle now. Bradbury in a head-to-head to her, but it's going to be Leah Dixon, who just got back involved in the race here with a feather power-up. That's a very fortunate power-up to have on this climbing sprint, but Bradbury has so many watts that she can almost come around the feather power-up, but no, Wilkinson's timing it. It looks like her timing is absolutely perfect. As Bradbury fades, Wilkinson almost nips it at the line. Did she take it is the question, because it's that but much of a difference. It's so close in the points. If she took that, she may have been able to win the sprint point competition here.
Wow. What an effort. You can just see Mary Wilkinson, hands over the bars, lying on the bike. That's really taken it out of her. Look how much she's breathing. Her heart rate is absolutely through the roof. But fantastic final sprint there from Mary Wilkinson. Has she done enough to take the win? Look at her. She doesn't know herself, and Rosamund Bradbury here, they're all a little bit sure who took it, because, you know, where did Rosamund Bradbury finish? Was it second or third? Because if she finished second, it looks like Rosamund Bradbury would take the race win.
Are we in a cycling race or a boxing match? I mean, did you see the look? Look at the look on Wilkinson's face. I mean, I thought I was looking at Rocky V or something. I mean, what? Like, this is like all-out competition in an arena at this point. The look on her face and the absolute exhaustion looking to take that down, knowing there's a national championship on the line, wanting to grab that national championship. Now it looks like the recovery coming in here, going to be thinking about what's coming up next and how am I going to be winning that scratch race most likely. Solid result it looked like there for her. We're not exactly sure where it ended up just yet. We're waiting on a couple of the points to come on through, but man, Wilkinson, Bradbury, kind of the story out there, but also Leah Dixon, she was involved there as well toward the end. We saw her definitely trying to take some points there. There it is, a little bit of concentration, maybe even concern on the face about where did the points end up, and it was Wilkinson here, 10 points, Dixon with 6 there, Rosamund Bradbury 4, and Sharon Bird with 2, and that's because it was double points on the final sprint. Double points on the final sprint. So that's going to change things up quite a bit with the sprint points competition. We'll have to wait for the overall results in just a moment. Still getting the recovery in here. Head down a little bit. How many times have you finished a Zwift race and just put your head over the handlebars and not wanted to bring it back up for quite a while?
Yeah, I think you just stay there for a few minutes, don't you, and just leave yourself draped over the bike, and you just have to try and get your breath back. But these riders are so fit. They are almost professionals at Zwift racing. They can recover so quickly. You can see Mary Wilkinson, looks like she's done a race, but considering to what she looked like straight after the finish, looks very, very calm and collected.
Yeah, and it sounds like we're going to head on over for some rider interviews, I believe, with Laura on the floor.
I think Mary's just about recovered from that one. That was an astonishing final sprint and so well timed for, of course, double points on the line. Talk me through the tactics in that final 400 metres or so.
To be honest, it was mind over matter. I knew that if I stand any chance of being able to win the overall, I had to win that race. So it was literally just get your head down, close my eyes and hope for the best.
How much did that hurt?
Quite a lot.
And you train twice a day on Zwift, I've been hearing. How much work have you actually put into being here today and fighting for this national title?
I think everybody that's here puts in so much work, both on Zwift and out in the real world. For myself, it's the accumulation of a year's work, really. It's the opportunity to actually challenge for a British title is it's amazing. So we've got to make the most of it.
And that was an all-out effort. We've got a Wahoo scratch race coming up a bit later on this evening. What's the plan now between this moment here and 8 p.m. later when you start racing again?
It's really just got to recover as best I can. Everybody's raced hard. Get my legs up, get some food in, and 2 laps of hilly, isn't it?
I'm afraid so, Mary. Well done. Congratulations. A brilliant win there from Mary Wilkinson. Tom, what did you make of that?
Easily. It was fantastic. It's so good to watch. I'm just chatting to the guys here, Nathan and Hannah, how cold it is in the studio. Why is that? Is that just to calm everybody down, make sure they don't overheat? Because the effort they put into that race was phenomenal.
Well, in real life racing, when you're moving, there's wind in your face. But in here, you're not, I mean, you're sitting still, so you have to have the fans on, but at the same time, just a fan sometimes, not so much. At my Zwift setup, I got an air conditioner blowing air, cooling the body, like cooling the CPU. Your computer slows down if it's working too hard, your body slows down if it's working too hard and can't cool down.
Yeah, and while you guys were commentating, fantastic job. I just want to double check on the points and where we stand with that HSBC UK points race for the women there. And it was phenomenal to see Mary, as she said herself, had to win that last lap, and to see where Roe Bradbury finished, 17 points in total there. So there you go. That is from our second race of the day. And so, guys, how did you find that one, Hannah? In terms of watching I saw true grit, determination on every rider's face.
I feel like my heart rate's through the roof myself just watching the effort being done. But yeah, just seeing the determination on the faces, especially Mary, when she knew she had to win that last sprint. She just did it. She knew what she had to do, and you know, she was so composed, yet so focused and determined to make sure she won that sprint from Rosamund Bradbury. It's phenomenal. It's great to watch.
And Leah Dixon, we're talking about the power-ups that can happen. She had the feather there to try and help her away. Almost sort of nicked it just at the line.
Yeah, she almost did. She went maybe just a little bit early, perhaps, you know, maybe trying to get the jump. Mary timed it very, very well. And I think the excitement was building even within the riders for that final sprint, because they knew there were so many points on the line for that final sprint, and that it was like win or lose in that situation. That was really one of the highlights tonight so far.
Yeah, and talking about highlights, we had to restart that race. So I think every rider should be incredibly proud of themselves for what they're able to do, get their head in the zone and deliver. And we were entertained, but I feel for them because they look absolutely knackered. How are they going to be able to lift themselves up ready for that third race later on tonight?
Yeah, I think it is a fair decision to make sure that all riders had a restart, because, you know, as you saw there, Leah Dixon was one of the riders who had a technical fault. So, and she was right back up in there in the race in the final. So it's, you know, it was a great decision, but they just need to rest and recover now before tonight's final race, the Wahoo Scratch race. Get some food in them. They've got time. Get some food. Keep hydrated. Get a bit of sugar in them, and just work out the game plan of what they're going to do.
Yeah, and can I also just say, you have to do a lot of talking throughout every race today, so you need to do your recovery right now, because I'm just going to let everybody know that is the women's points race taken care of, and the men are about 15 minutes away. You might have seen they're setting up just behind us, and they are going to have a go themselves. The action will continue here into the evening. We're live on BT Sport 1 tonight from 8 o'clock with the Wahoo Scratch race. What's not to like? So we will be back about 10 minutes for the men's HSBC UK points race. Do join us then. Well, here we go then. Welcome back to BT Sport Studios in the Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park in London. We are live this afternoon hosting the British Cycling Zwift eRacing Championships. In just a moment, we'll see the men go head-to-head in their HSBC UK points race. We saw earlier on the women tackle that event earlier, and this is how their overall leaderboard stands. So, to bring you up to speed with it, as it comes in there, Bradbury on 45 points, Wilkinson on 41, a fantastic race from her in that HSBC UK points race. And obviously Sharon Bird in third with 33. Still a chance though when we go to the final Wahoo scratch race, 25 points up for grabs. Let's have a look at the men's, where they stand at the moment, before we go into the HSBC UK points race for them. So at least they'll know where they stand. Tom Moses, a fantastic first elimination race from him. And there you go, Stevie Young at the bottom of the pack, but 25 points up for grabs. Anything can happen. Now, I am joined by Nathan and Hannah here, who have been commentating all day. Their voices are still intact. We go into this points race. What do we need to know? For those who are just joining us now, how does this race differ to the other ones?
Yeah, so we have 4 sprints up for grabs with points within this race that are up for grabs 5, 3, 2, and 1 for the top 4 across the line for each sprint lap. And those points will determine who wins the overall for this specific competition within the competition. It's not the championship overall, it's this sprint points race. And the last lap is double points.
Okay, right, so you're suggesting everyone at home needs a pen, paper, start jotting those stats down. Will we help them at any point? Because it can get quite confusing, but basically just make sure you are winning those points.
Yeah, it's a calculation game. You know, the riders also need to calculate how many points they've got, how many points their opponents have got, and you just need to be on the ball the whole time. You know, we'll be able to bring you up to speed during the race, who's leading, who's second, where the points are coming from, and who's leading overall after a few sprints.
Well, it's a team effort. I just want you to know we're one big team here, one big family. Let's have a look at the schedule, because tonight we are live on BT Sport from 8 p.m. With the women's and men's Wahoo scratch races. Do join us, honestly, come and join us. We've actually got a live audience in the studio right now, and it is going to be thrilling, I can assure you. Now, a man that looked like he hadn't even had a race after that first elimination was Tom Moses, and I believe Laura is with him right now.
I'm not sure Tom would agree with you there. I think their legs are feeling it a little bit, Tom. You have the overall lead. How are you going to defend that?
You can't really defend it, really. I mean, you can lose the national title on the first round, but you definitely can't win it. So I'm in a good position, but it's still all up for grabs, really.
And as a rider, how does the points race format suit you? Or does it?
If there was a race tonight that was going to suit me, I'd say it was probably the points race. So, yeah, no pressure.
Target on your back there, right there. And right next to you as well, we've got 1, 2, 3 in the standings, all lined up next to each other. We have Cam. We've just heard from Tom there saying this is the race that suits him. How does the points race suit you?
Yeah, I mean, it's not as simple as the last race. There's a few more climbs involved in this one. But I certainly think that people's recovery is going to play into this one. We didn't have too long between the first and second race, so I think it's going to be interesting to see how everyone's recovered after the first one.
Well, best of luck to you, Cam. I'm going to just nip along here and have a very quick chat with third place as well. James, third overall, a good ride in the elimination. We've got the points race now. These two seem pretty up for it. How are you feeling?
Yeah, up for it too. You know, we've already got a few sprints in our legs, another 4 to go. So just ready to get stuck in and just give it my best shot and see what happens.
And tactically, how difficult is this proving?
Well, the first one was a bit cagey, and I think more tactics might come into play now this race and the second race, when teams know who they'll be riding for. So yeah, I think there'll be more tactics in this race than the next one. So we'll have to keep our eyes peeled.
Keep your eyes peeled, exactly. Best of luck to you. I'm going to grab a quick chat as well, if I may, with John Mould here, of course, Madison Genesis, putting in a good show so far. John, how are you feeling ahead of this one with a teammate, of course, in the lead? How are Madison Genesis going to play this as a team?
We'll see how it goes. We'll get stuck in and race hard, and then maybe by this evening we'll know what's going on. So I think we'll all be up for it.
Well, best of luck to you. We're going to keep going down the line. We've got a little bit of time to fill here. George, I saw a shake of the head from you in the elimination race. That didn't go to plan, did it?
No, I was a little bit disappointed with that. I think we're still getting used to how to sprint in Zwift, because it's sometimes it can be a little bit unpredictable, but we have to work out how we can sort of ride around that. So yeah, but I'm looking forward to this one.
And how does it suit you as a rider, this format of, I guess, those full-out sprints every lap, or perhaps, you know, being more consistent in how you put your power in?
To be honest, I don't really know. Like, it's so brand new. I think everyone's just working out how to do it and if it suits them. So I'll let you know after the race.
Thank you. You do that. Best of luck to you. Now, Ed, I've got to talk to you, because what happened to you in that elimination race? You went off the front really hard. We thought, that's it, he's going to get that first one. And then you sort of went out the back again.
Yeah, I just thought I'd make the race a bit more exciting, straight from the gun, really. It doesn't really, it's not really my strength, a sprint, which kind of really doesn't sit with the format of the whole afternoon, really. But I'm still going to give it a go anyway, and I just mistimed it a little bit. I just let my foot off the gas, my own fault, and just cruised in at the back. So I just missed out.
Well, best of luck to you for this one. We are going to be starting very soon. There is, at the moment, a problem with bike number 3. 4th place overall is Ian Bibby. Elimination race for you. How did that play out?
It wasn't too bad. Tom won, and we had a few thereabouts. So yeah, it was a bit of a different sort of racing. So we get used to it. This will be pretty similar again. So see how this goes.
And I saw from you, for your tactics, it was very much stay in the back, and then suddenly you'd zip through for the sprint, and it worked for you for 3 sprints, and then not so much for after that.
Yeah, there was attack on the last one, so it didn't quite play out, but yeah, that's how it is.
Well, best of luck to you for the next one here. I'm going to head all the way down the line now here. We're still working out this problem here on bike number 3. I've got Stevie Young here, who was first in the qualifying for this. We've got 5 minutes to go until the start, so just for all the riders here, 5 minutes to go. Stevie, first in the qualifying, but first out of the elimination. How did that go for you? Not well. What could go better this time?
Yeah, not the best to start to a major competition. The Python got caught sleeping, didn't he? Hey? Late night last night, caught sleeping. Not the best of starts, but look, my boy Phillips is up there as well, so something to think about now for the rest of them.
And for you, what's the game plan going into the points race?
Obviously, I can't be eliminated, first off, so at least I get to finish a whole race. My plan of attack is going to be something to save for in the race, I think.
We'll see how it plays out on the road there. You're not giving anything away. Well, Stevie Young, of course, first into qualifying, first out of the elimination race. Let's hope the points race goes a little better for you, Stevie. Tom, back to you.
Thank you very much. I'm just over here, Laura. I'm literally just over here. Just thought I'd let you know. There we go, massive studio. It is looking epic, and I know the riders want to get into this race. So we kind of talked tactically about how they should approach this. I'm quite curious, as I'm sure people at home are. You talked earlier on that the riders are weighed at the beginning of the day, and that's factored in against the watts. So can you explain that for me, Nathan or Hannah?
Yeah, sure. Watts per kilogram, we use that a lot during the races because you can see it on the right-hand side of the screen. Anyone who's familiar with training or is a coach in cycling or races at any kind of level is really familiar with this idea of your watts per kilogram ratio. How much you weigh versus how much power you can produce is what's going to move your body forward. Yeah. So that's why that matters so much, is literally the watts is the power measurement that we use in cycling to say how strong you are. Like lifting weights. I'm going to lift pounds or whatever it might be, whatever you guys in the UK might be using, the metric using over here. But you go to the weight room, you go and you lift some weights, and you have a measurement right there. That's the measurement we're using, and then you divide that by whatever you weigh in kilograms, and you get your watts per kilogram ratio. And that ratio, if it's over 5, is usually around a pro-type rider if you can do that for about 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, because I'm looking at the physique of the riders, but and it's going to be interesting how that factors in with today. Listen, we're going now to the HSBC UK points race. And as you can see, I'll just say goodbye to Hannah and my main man Nathan, because they're heading up there to get this race underway. As you can see, Tom Moses at the top with 25 points. Second place, Cam Jeffers with 20 points. And then about the middle, John Mould in 5th place with 11 points. And as you know, with this race, 25 points are up for grabs. And it does, as you can see, really slide off in terms of points. If you finish about 6th, you are out there in terms of getting back up to that leader spot. So 25 points are for grabs in this race. So I'll tell you what, they're in position, they are ready to go. The riders want to get this one started, as do I, and I'm sure you do. So I'll pass to Nathan and Hannah in the commentary.
And here we go with a minute 40 left to go from the couch to the desk here. Here we go. And we are looking at, again, the volcano counterclockwise. Of course, it's going to be a lead-in and 4 laps. Normal points on the first 3 and double on the last one. I wonder if it's going to heat up just as much with a lot of excitement leading into all the laps around the lava we're looking at.
Yeah, I think so. So in those points, it'll be 5 for the win, 3 for second, 2 for third, and 1 for fourth place. This will happen every lap for 4 laps. And like you say, on the last lap, double point, 10, 6, 4, and 2. So still an opportunity for those riders who are further down the standings to take the win, with it being double points, but yeah, you don't want to leave it to the last sprint, I don't think, in a race like this.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're about to have a start here, speaking of the last lap and everything. Now the start is about to be happening, and we saw a fairly calm start last time around from the women. I wonder if we're having a similar situation, a little bit of cagey riding, and again, a lot of tactics here. These riders are used to scratch races, as we were saying earlier. They're used to a couple of laps with one finish line for a lot of the Zwift racing here. So this is a little bit of a change up too, maybe for the tactics that they might be using out there. And they're kind of used to just right from the gun, full-on cyclocross or mountain bike type starts. We're talking starts that are like a sprint from the line, find your position, don't get dropped. I wonder if we'll see something similar, if they're going to kind of try and just get rid of a few riders right from the get-go.
Yeah, I think when they've got this lead in with, you know, the 8 seconds until the race gets underway, they've got this lead in. It will be a flat-out sprint from the start. Get into that rhythm, 30 seconds, 1 minute of effort, and then once they settle into this rhythm, as you see, they're underway now. Get into that rhythm, and yeah, the riders will have to look at each other and see is anyone going to take it up. You can already see someone's actually gone really hard off the front. Kim Little it is. He's already got a 1 second advantage right from the get-go.
Yeah, Kim Little, we're looking at him in the Zwift All-Stars kit there with the light blue, white, and orange kit, if you want to be able to recognize it out on course. That is a community team that was awarded a spot in the Pro League that's been going on for weeks now. Actually had the final last night for the men's league. And Kim Little toward the front. He's also the reigning UK national champion of Zwift. Was taken out, though, in the elimination race fairly early. And so he's definitely going to be looking for as many points that he can grab in this sprint. Now, he did win in a scratch race, just one scratch race last year is all it was for the Zwift National Championships for the UK last year. And so it's a little bit different this year. And it was a downhill into a flat sprint that he won that on, which is very different than the sprint that we'll be seeing here, which is that 2-tier volcano climb that we saw. A little bit of a climb. I mean, it tiers once, then it gets really flat, and it's a timing to the finish line last 200 meters here. So Kim Little here he is with that Marita factory racing on in real life, as you can see, as he rides for a mountain bike team, actually, Marita Factory Racing UK, actually, in real life. So proper mountain biker there, Kim Little, knows how to climb as well, and solid sprinter. Stevie Young now from Canyon ZCC taking up third wheel. Madison Genesis marking the moves, it looks like, so far.
Yeah, it's a perfect type of racing for Kim Little from, you know, a mountain bike background. He's been riding Zwift for a long time. He's done just 514 races on Zwift in his time, so it's actually incredible how much experience Kim Little has. Yeah, hopefully he won't be too disheartened from his result in that first race, the elimination race, but yeah, certainly knows how to ride Zwift.
Yeah, and we are seeing our analysts here give us some information here that Little and Dempster have actually been training their sprints on this exact course, actually, with some community efforts that have been going on with racing out there, actually. So interesting to see that Dempster and Little have been practicing specifically on this course for the sprints that will be taking place on the counterclockwise here. We'll have to see if it's paid off here as they finish up their lead-in and go into the first sprint for the day.
I think that just shows their experience. They've identified which race they think is going to be the crucial race to take points and to take the win in. So I think that just shows their experience to make sure they nail that climb, where they're going to attack to, you know, take the sprint points. They don't want to go too early. It's as we saw in the women's race before, some riders were going too early and then, you know, not having no energy left to actually take the points. So I think that just shows their experience by training on such a circuit.
Just a moment ago we saw Tom Moses, and we did see his first-person point of view feather power up there. We have seen that be a difference with it being a climbing sprint each lap, actually. So it'll be interesting to see if he does use that in the first lap or uses it for a little bit later, as we saw him be obviously one of the strongest riders out there so far, winning the elimination race. We'll see if he can take it down again. Kim Little leading things out now, it looks like, here in the white, blue, and orange kit. Now Madison Genesis, 4 riders in the race here, though, marking every single little move, and now making their way to the front is going to be Pim as well as Mold, John Mold there. Now backing off to 2.7 watts per kilogram. Very calm race at this point. They know it's all about the sprint. That's why things, I think, have calmed down so far. They're not really looking to make a breakaway. They're looking to win sprints out here today. Now, real quickly, though, for the sprint competitions, for those that do not gain points on the day, it is actually a scratch race for them to the line. They're actually going to award points. If anybody doesn't get points, then it's the next ones across the line. So if you get dropped, you actually have to race the other people that you're out there with to the end, to the end, actually. So it'll be interesting to see if anybody does get dropped, how much effort they put in to try and get across the line first.
Yeah, because, you know, there's still those championship points up for grabs. You know, it all can make the difference with, you know, if you come in 10th place, you only get 1 point, you know, whereas if you come 8th place, which is only 2 places more, you're getting 5 points. So it's just, you just want to take as many points as possible to take your cumulative up for the championship. You can see now George Pym there in second wheel. Kim Little, very confident. He doesn't want to ride it from the back like he did before in the elimination race. He knows what he needs to do, ride it from the front. I think he's confident that he can ride it from the front, and he's got nothing to lose, I must say.
Yeah, we are looking at the image of Kim Little in the lower left-hand corner. The rider on the screen, though, for the avatar is going to be George Pym there at 2.5 watts per kilogram, 141 beats per minute, so fairly calm there with the heart rate at this point. That's very low for the type of riders we have in front of us here. I mean, we're talking 180, 190 beats per minute. 50 beats is that's a massive difference in effort that's currently being put on. I have a feeling they're in zone 1, zone 2, very low for their exercise levels at this point, you know, their training levels at this point. If we had a graph at the bottom right now, it'd probably be mostly gray and blue for what they're putting out right now. So actually
it's a contrast as well to the elimination race, because in the elimination race they all had such high heart rate. I think now they've settled into it. The first race is out the way, you know, the nerves have gone. That also, you know, plays a factor to the heart rate being high. When the nerves are high and they're not sure what's happening, you know, they don't really know when to make their move, and it's just all plays a factor. Whereas now I think everyone's very relaxed. They know who to look for, who to watch for, and who the target is on the back of the rider.
Yeah, that's for sure. I think the target we're going to be talking about is Tom Moses, as well as Madison Genesis. I mean, 4 riders in here. All the rest of the riders must be thinking, man, a little bit of advantage that they have. That's what the qualifying was about. We saw them show up for the qualifier and put those riders in the top 10 for the qualifier out on Zwift, on Zwift Nationals Day that was held for a lot of countries besides just the UK, but UK with the live final here with British Cycling. Now we are seeing Dempster here making his way to the front, and it looks like Pym has got a drafting power-up. I have a feeling that's going to be used on this lap. He's going to be looking for an arrow on this next time through the banner here in just a moment. Kim Little makes his way to the front here. This is an early attack, 10 watts per kilogram coming from him. 600 watts is what it takes to produce about 10 watts per kilogram for him. Now up into 11, he's looking to just break away, it looks like, here as the heart rates rise here. You do see the RPM start to go down as they're feeling the grind from the smart trainers that are kicking in with that gradient here. Mold here trying to cross. Now it looks like Kim is really, look at the effort on the face there, giving everything he can to the line. Has he gotten the gap? Here comes a feather power up, all kinds of power ups being used, even an arrow power up. The risk is there from Dempster. Dempster with 13 watts per kilogram comes right on by Kim Little. It looks like Gavin Dempster perhaps is going to take this as he has 1 second gap, it looks like, over the rest of the pack. Gavin Dempster, what an amazingly timed sprint, but also a little bit of luck, Hannah, with that arrow power up.
Yeah, and you saw how much gap he gained from that. He had a 1 second advantage over the rest of the riders. But yeah, a little bit of luck, but you know, he felt like he needed to do it, and it paid off because he took maximum points, 5 points on the leaderboard. Here you can see him. Look how calm and composed he looked. Doesn't even look like he's just done a effort at all. But look, from that, when he went through the banner, he picked up a feather power up. Perfect. This is great news for him. He's gone from an aero and now he's got a feather power up. can't get much better than this.
Yeah, and actually, you know, a little bit of a dice roll. What would you take your odds on? It's a 1 in 4 chance, right? Or is 1 in 4, 1 in 5? Well, there's another big power-up, a big experience power-up that doesn't get hit very often. The 250 bonus experience. There's also a smaller one that hits more often, but it's kind of a 1 in 4 chance. Roll the dice, 1 in 4. That's a pretty good chance to take, I would think, on a national championship. But Lavrik here now, 7.3 watts per kilogram, looking to go. Uses an aero power very early and looking to just break everything apart. Well, I mean, he was saying, you know, let's go ahead and make the race interesting. We saw it in the interview before. Maybe that's what he's looking to do. Maybe he's not that confident in being a sprinter against these riders and just saying, let's just make it so they can't even get points versus me.
Yeah, I mean, I think, with all due respect, Lavrik has probably not got the greatest sprint here today, so he's using his strengths by, you know, breaking away. This is where he is strong, being in a breakaway and a good time trialist. So, I mean, his effort didn't really pay off, but at least he's tried. We saw it nearly paid off in elimination when he attacked, but all back together now. Cameron Jeffers up there at the front with George Pym next to him.
Yeah, I'm used to 170 beats per minute here, coming from 175 beats per minute from Pym. It looks like it was closed down pretty quickly to Lavrik there. Interesting to see that little bit of a kick and a use of an aero power for it. We are seeing the HSBC UK point race now. Provisional lap 1 results. Gavin Dempster with 5, with a solid gap between him and Ian Bibby. Cam Jeffers second, and George Pym. Cam Jeffers with 2 points in third, and George Pym in fourth with 1 point. So that's your current provisional results for the overall in this sprint points race right now. Jeffers now sitting in, as you do see, at about 4.1 watts per kilogram, 420 watts. A little bit of a kick here for Phillips now to hang on as they do get a little bit of a grain as they do leave the volcano and be heading back in just a moment for the next time around for the next sprint. Very quick laps. It's kind of just run right on top of each other. Now with Lavrik's attack there, they had to give a little bit of a kick to just get back on terms there. I mean, this is just, the race just keeps coming at them.
Yeah, I mean, each lap is only 4.1 kilometres in length, so, you know, as soon as a bit of pressure is applied, the lap comes round soon. You know, they're sprinting every 4 minutes, essentially. So quick recovery is needed after making such an effort for these intermediate sprints, and it's just about recovering, but also trying to make sure that you close down those attacks if you are not confident to bring them back. If they get a gap up to 10 seconds, 12 seconds, if you're not confident, you need to bring them back immediately.
You know, I've done all-out sprint training in the past, and the reality is in all-out sprint training, you need like 5 minutes between each full-on 30-second to 1 minute sprint. And so these riders aren't even getting that you usually see in full-on sprint training. So giving an all-out effort, everything you've got to the line every time, this is really going to tax these riders. And you can already see, you know, after these sprints, how much they're suffering each time and just trying to calm down to get ready for the next one.
Yeah, there's no let up. And also, with everyone being in a studio and everyone next to each other, you know, they are hot. Luckily, they do have the Wahoo headwind to cool them down, because you don't want your body temperature to get too high. When it gets to that point and you're sprinting and your heart rate is high, you just can't recover as quick. So, yeah, there's just not much respite on a course like this.
Yeah, now whether or not they're going to keep on taking this risk, you know, using these power-ups every lap. We were speaking a little bit before it really got going here. I wonder if we're going to keep on seeing them do that. You know, is it worth the risk? Should we hold on? Personally, I would be risking it because there's a lot on the line here, and just getting a little bit lucky. 1 in 4 is a pretty okay chance, you know, at getting something that's going to assist you. It isn't everything. Maybe just use it and try and win that sprint each time. Now we are heading into the next sprint, though, and Pym here trying to lead things out. We do have a feather power-up, though, coming from other riders. Phillips now coming on through. Lavrik there makes his way to the front, though, leading things out again. 6.9 watts per kilogram coming from him, and it looks like now a drafting power-up from Kim Little now. Not the luckiest power-up that you could possibly get, but he's holding on to the wheels. Very smart. He's a 30-second power-up. Now the aero power-up here coming from the ZCC rider. Canyon ZCC trying to make his way to the front. I do believe that is going to be Phillips trying to take over at the front of this pack, but it is again Moses here leading things out, but Pym's coming around very quickly. Madison Genesis taking over at the front, but Phillips with a solid kick, and there's the real life effort, and Dempster trying to come around with that feather power. Will he nip it at the line? It might be Dempster again. Phillips, Dempster neck and neck. I think Phillips just barely held on to it with that aero power up, but Dempster almost nipping him at the line with the feather power up. I mean, look at how they interacted there with those power-ups there. Look at how they interacted there with the power there. And Phillips just barely nipping that there, it looked like, at the line.
That was so impressive. You just saw how much effort is needed to take the win. I mean, but then you compare it to Dempster. doesn't even look like he's just done an effort. Hey, look how calm and composed he looks, but incredible. It's worth noting that here, Dempster has a feather power up for the next sprint, so, you know, that's great for him.
Yeah, and, you know, speaking of Gavin Dempster won a live final, actually, in Long Beach for the Kiss Crit American Finals last year. And so Gavin Dempster, on this course, on this specific course, he knows this course, he knows how to win on this course, he knows how to sprint on this course, and he's been practicing with Kim Little in some series that some of the community been developing actually on this course as well. So he's done his homework and it's paying off, and so far it's an A+, it looks like, because currently it looks like he may be, these are provisional, but I believe he is leading this competition right now.
Yeah, I think so, and it just shows his experience. I mean, he's had over 75 wins on Zwift, you know, and over 100 places in second place. You know, he knows all these courses, he knows where to sprint, he's got it nailed, and it's just all about the timing as well. You know, James Phillips went early, and Dempster was right onto him, and you just see, actually, he just fell short taking second behind Phillips. So Phillips takes maximum points, 5. Gavin Dempster, 3. Cameron Jeffers picks up points again, taking 2. And George Pym from Madison Genesis picking up the 1. So that's interesting to see.
Yeah, and so James Phillips with that well-timed arrow power-up and a nice kick to the line. We saw how hard it was for him to take that down, and it was a very important sprint, and I think he might have put a lot of chips in the basket, actually, for that lap. I think that might have been, he's kind of betting a little bit on that's going to solidify some points for him in the overall, maybe get him onto the podium by grabbing that lap. But we'll see if he suffers later in the race, because we got double points coming up here on the last lap, but we're going into lap 3 right now. We do have an attack here coming from Laverick. He does have 2 seconds, and Laverick just trying to keep things interesting. Gavin doesn't seem too interested, though. Look at Gavin saying, nah, that'll come back here. I don't think that's going much of anywhere. Trying to get away out on Zwift. We'll see if he's right here in a second, because Laverick's got 6.5 watts per kilogram to stay away. That is a monster setter. For those who are unfamiliar, if you're holding over 5 watts per kilogram, 5.5 watts per kilogram for 20 minutes, that's a pro-type effort, actually. So 6.0 is very difficult. Gavin Dempster, though, as we do see with the HSBC UK points race, current points overall for this race right now, Gavin Dempster 8 points, leading James Phillips in second with 5, Cam Jeffers with 4, and Ian Bibby in fourth currently with 3. So Madison Genesis not really on the leaderboard right now. Interesting to see after Tom Moses took such a solid spot, as well as the other riders from that team in the last race.
I think it just proves how hard this racing is. Of course, Madison Genesis, you know, they do have 4 riders in this race, but you can't really use teamwork like you can do in real life racing on the road or in Criterium. You know, it's just not as easy, and I think it just shows how hard it is, and you know, the strength of these riders, Dempster and Phillips. Laverack increasing his lead, already 12 seconds gap. I mean, this is getting to a crucial point. When are people going to start to bring him back? Can they bring him back? Do they want to bring him back? Are they not bothered because he's already quite far down the standings with 1 point? So
this actually is interesting. 11 seconds, to, like that 10 to 20 second place is the dangerous place for a pack. Now, this 11 seconds, I think, with the kind of effort we'll see over this 2-tier climb, and with the climb being there, is not as much of a threat. If it was, you know, if it was flatter through this section, then it'd be more of a threat, because it becomes more difficult on the flatter sections to close down from just a watts per kilogram against watts per kilogram perspective. But Laverick, I think, will be shut down on this unless he can really give us something amazing through this lap right here.
I mean, he's maintaining his time, his gap to the other riders, and he's maintaining his watts per kilo, but it's worth noting he doesn't have a power-up. So how will that affect him? Once all the other riders start throwing down their power-ups, how is that going to affect Laverack as he starts to take on the climb? You see Madison Genesis here all in almost a lead-out formation, but they're just making use of the draft, and you can see all the orange numbers now coming on the right-hand side from the riders. John Mould up to 7.9 watts per kilo.
Yeah, it looks like Mold here is going to lead out the rest of his team to try and close things down. Laverick's got 11 seconds. Can he hold on to it? He's going to have to really dig at this point, though, to hold on to this kind of a gap, I think. You know, as we head into the little bit of a sprint in a moment here, Mold 6.5 watts per kilogram. Laverick might be able to do this, it looks like. 12 seconds is the difference. Moses now kicking at 10 watts per kilogram. I'm not sure going to close it down. He might just walk away with this. He has the gap to hold on. I don't think it's going to happen, but he's got to put in a crazy effort. It doesn't look like he's going going to push in the orange numbers. I'm not sure he can. Dempster's trying to close it down, and Dempster, it looks like, has used a feather power-up on this lap, looking to try and win this competition overall. It looks like Bibby, though, maybe nipping it at the line. Last second there from Madison Genesis. We'll have to get a confirmation, as with the images, we were a little far back in the pack there to hold on to the images for the across the line, but it does look like, I believe Bibby took the second. Laverick, though, with the walkaway. That was like, they just kind of allowed him to float away, and he just cruised across the line. Well, cruised at 7.6 watts per kilogram.
Yeah, still put in a big effort, but it certainly made it a lot easier than contesting for that sprint. But yeah, that was a very, very close sprint there. We'll bring you the full results when we get them.
Yeah, we do see the image of Ian Bibby there. I believe Bibby did get it at the line from what I can see on the right-hand side there for the riders nearby, or the riders in the group there, as we are seeing things calm right on down as we head into the final lap. We do see Stevie Young off the back, though, has been dropped from the pack, and it's going to be about him just getting across the line and getting as many the points that will be awarded for being across the line in that final place.
Yeah, he's a big rider, and on a course like this where it's repetitively uphill, that it affects the riders, because it's all about the power to weight. If you're a big rider, you suffer on the climbs, and it just looks like Steve Young just maybe doesn't have the form. He didn't actually do that great in the elimination like what we were expecting to. He's in 10th position so far, so lap results we just saw, Ed Laverack took max points with 5.
Yeah, it looks like Laverick followed up by, I believe, we'll have to wait and see with the overall there for just a second, but solid result there for Laverick. Awesome job to Laverick there, getting away and taking maximum points across the line there. So Kim Little here now, keeping calm, it looks like, as he's going to be looking for double points on this lap. Going into the final here now, this is where it's at. Current situation, HSBC UK points race, it's going to be Gavin Dempster still leading. Ian Bibby with a solid result this last, this last lap. Ian Bibby 6 points there. James Phillips with 5. Ed Laverick there with 5 as well. So with double points on the line, everybody on the screen there that you're seeing on the left-hand side with that list still has quite the chance to stay involved. I mean, you get the 10 points and you just, there's no chance. Well, maybe I'm not doing my math too correctly there. With the 6 points there from somebody in first place there with the 9, Dempster with 9 points, he may be able to hold on with a second.
It certainly elevates you up the standings, though.
Yep.
Whether even if you can't take the overall victory of the race, it certainly elevates you up there, and you can take points going into the championship, which is the final race of the Wahoo Scratch race. Bibby makes his attack now, though.
Yeah, it does look like Ian Bibby does go up and over the top there of that little bit of a climb coming out of the volcano here, halfway through the final lap. He's looking to not be involved at all in a sprint at the line. He's looking to just break away. Ian Bibby with a feather power up even. So the tactic here may be break away, hold on to enough of a gap, and then from there use the feather power up to increase his watts per kilogram on the climb and just hold on to the line, because it's way too close to the finish. He's 1.4 kilometers out. If he gets caught, he's not recovering before the sprint.
No, and it's an all-out, it's a do-or-die effort now. He has to just go all out, and yeah, he's got the benefit of the feather power-up, so he's safe in that sense, but he just needs to give it everything he's got, because, if he wants to take this championship overall, he's currently 4th, so he needs to basically take this win to put himself back into contention.
Yeah, he does, but with 3 seconds in the final K here in just a moment, Laverick shutting it down from Wahoo Cycling Hub at this point, so it looks like Laverick here, interesting to see, doing the work to bring this back, and that's the benefit of having so many Madison Genesis riders sit in. With that many riders, your teammates just sit in, get the pull back up to the wheel of your teammate, and now the rest of the riders are opened up for a sprint. Ian Bibby has done his job, he's gone off the front, he's going to try to contest still, I would think, but not going to be able to hang on after an effort like that and getting caught with less than a K to go to the line.
Yeah, he has to have a very quick recovery, but it's worth noting that Ed Laverack, who took maximum points in the last sprint, has actually been dropped. He's 13 seconds behind this bunch now, so he's not in contention to take maximum points and take the overall this race win in the HSBC UK points race. But back up there is Tom Moses, George Pym from Madison Genesis, and Gavin Dempster is on the front. He is the guy who's leading the race so far.
Dempster now 5.2 watts per kilogram at the front here. We're into the final few meters. Jeffers, as it is going to be Bibby now kicking again, even after an attack. Maybe we're wrong. How much power does this man have? And it's going to be Bibby leading out. Moses coming through, the winner of the elimination race. Can he win this one as well in this final sprint? Jeffers comes right on through. Maybe that's what Laverick was doing his effort for, was for Cameron Jeffers, as it looks like Jeffers might take the double points, and Cam Jeffers does it across the line. Moses was second, it looks like, there from the images. I believe it was Pim. Dempster perhaps in fourth. We'll have to see if that was enough with the double points to hold on to the overall. Amazing job from Jeffers, and that's what Laverick was doing. Laverick went to the front, shut down Madison Genesis, and set up Cam Jeffers. I mean, perfect there. Teamwork from the Wahoo CH team.
Yeah, that was absolutely fantastic, and great effort and great sprint by Jeffers there. Here's Laverick just riding up the mountain here. Great teamwork, but what a race. It's brutal, isn't it?
Yeah, Laverick's work was done there. Obviously, we were confused like what exactly he was doing. Dempster here now wondering, did I do enough? Was that enough at the line, waiting for the results to come in as they came across the line? They were so close. We're looking for that photo finish in just a moment here, getting that result there in so that he knows, did I do enough to hold on here, because it's all on the line for the British Cycling National Championship out on Zwift here. Jeffers here knowing that he did his work for those double points. Will it be enough once those do come in? So a lot of like, what happened there? We put the effort in, get your recovery here, and will we have Jeffers, Dempster, or was it one of the Madison Genesis boys holding on to the line? I saw Moses there right, I mean, he was right there as well. So, you know, Moses, obviously the overall championship leader right now, he definitely was involved in that final sprint too with double points.
Yeah, but did he do enough to maintain those points that he took from the first round in the elimination race? Because he didn't score in the previous 3 sprints. So how has that affected? Here is George Pym of Madison Genesis. They're all looking around to see who took the win, who was in the mix with that final sprint, taking the double points.
Yeah, look at them. They're probably thinking about the scratch race as well, and getting the cool down and getting as much as they possibly can as far as energy back into the body. Let's go ahead down to Laura on the floor for some of the reactions from the racers.
Well, that was an incredible race to watch, and a blistering final sprint from you, Cam. In that final 500 metres or so, what kind of tactics were you playing at?
Well, I knew my closest, obviously Tom was leading the round there before this race. He won the first race, so I knew he was the first sort of guy I needed to sit on and watch. So I noticed he had an aero. I had a feather light.
So you looked over and saw what he had?
Yeah, of course. So I saw he had an aero, which is quite beneficial on this sprint because it's not the steepest of finishes, but there's a little rise right up to the line at 200 to go. So I had a feather light, so that's where I used my feather and just managed to tip Tom and Bibby.
It's so tactical, isn't it? And of course, with the points race, you're having to do some pretty quick maths as well. Just how tough was it? You're gulping air in there. How hard is this?
Yeah, well, I knew that obviously there's four of the Madison guys, so there's only me and Ed here from the Wahoo team, the Cycling Hub team. So on the last lap, yeah, Bibby was attacking, and it was only sort of down to me to chase it. Ed had done an attack the previous lap, so I knew that Ian had attacked to try and bring me out and to chase him to set up Tom for the win, so I'm happy to just finish it off.
Because that was some attack from Ed, wasn't it? He went out there to draw out Madison Genesis and set you up. So you can really play at team tactics here on Zwift, certainly in a race like that.
Yeah, for sure. So when Ed attacked, I knew that I just had to sit in, and obviously Ed's quite low down in the overall after the first round. And these 2 courses don't really suit him. He's much lighter than me, so even though there is a climb on this course, it's not really a climbers course, it's more of an all-round riders course. So yeah, when Ed went, I was quite relieved that I could just sit in the wheels.
Well, well done to you. A brilliant performance, a second and a first place for Cam Jeffers. Tom, what did you make of the action?
It's important to know that, as I thought that was brilliant, it's more important to know what these guys next to me, Nathan, Hannah, what did you make of that? Because I was just drawn to the magnetism of how much they went for it in that final lap and how much that had an effect on the overall points. So Cam Jeffers did an amazing job there.
Yeah, I think as far as we've seen this in the women's race, now in the men's race, that final lap is really important. Double points are really on the line, really makes a huge difference. And it looks like, you know, there was a lot of bets placed on that final lap. especially with the Wahoo Cycling Hub team, Laverick closing it down, some teamwork there. Obviously, Cam coming around and making it happen.
Yeah, I'm going to remind you of what happened right towards the end, Hannah. It was so intense because everyone was going for it. It's using those power-ups at the right moment. The featherweight there really helped some of the riders.
Yeah, it just shows how much the power-ups benefit the riders, and you can't get complacent if those riders who scored early, you can't get complacent, because as you saw when it was the double points on the last sprint, it just changed the result totally. So yeah, it was interesting seeing what power-ups all the riders had, and when they used them.
It just seems like you're watching at home, and I was watching, I was going, it's so unfair. The person who's at the front of the pack doesn't get a power-up, they get an XP, and you think, oh, have they got a chance still? However, just to remind you guys of lap 3, Laverick, what a ride from him, just getting such a lead. Do you think that maybe reflectively should have saved that to the last lap, if it was possible?
I think that it was about Cam. I think he was looking to steal points, take them away from everybody else, and set Cam up for the double, right? So that meant that the other riders weren't able to get as many points because he took the points, walked away, sacrificed himself, closed the gap to Madison Genesis, and then Cam ends up taking the win. I think it was well-planned tactic, actually.
Now, there is a little bit of time between 8 p.m. we go live on BT Sport 1. Hannah, what are the riders going to be doing? Because they know exactly how many points are up for grabs. Some of them are probably out of contention now. So how do they psychologically get ready for tonight?
First of all, right up, they need to start to eat, keep hydrated, and recover from the past 2 races. But then they'll start to look at the standings, the overall standings, look at the riders who they need to watch. It's going to be very, very close and tight in the top of the leaderboard. But Cameron Jeffers and Ed Laverack, they're teammates with Wahoo Cycling Hub, and then you've got 4 Madison Genesis riders. So they need to talk to each other and work out a game plan of how they're going to be able to help and work as a team, because this is a national championship on the line.
Yeah, you mentioned that several times. I was hearing that, and you suddenly realise the severity of how exciting and how important this is. They go into the Wahoo Scratch race. So we go into this. How is this going to be different to the 2 races we've seen so far today?
Yeah, so you have 2 laps on the Watopia reverse climb, okay? Watopia reverse hilly, and essentially you have about a 3.5 to 4 minute climb depending on how hard they go. It's more of a climber's race. Punchy climber, it's not like a 20-minute to the top of a mountain climb, but it's going to be very different tactics because they're kind of be waiting for that climb and really give it through there. They also go through another section called the Essies where it's a couple of punches through there. So there's 2 main spots on course that they're going to be looking for. Scratch race, first one across the line. Who can you get dropped? Not so much of the cagey riding where you're kind of waiting for the sprints.
Okay, so it's going to be pretty flat out. Is that what you're saying? When it comes to this scratch race, it's about go for it, and the riders that are better at climbing up those hills are should do better in this race.
Yeah, someone like Kim Little, actually, he is a very, very good climber, so this race actually could play out to him. He's very strong as well. So, I mean, Ed Laverack, we've seen him, he always makes that attack. He did it in the first race in the elimination race.
Showboater, that's how I said it. He's a showboater. He likes to get out in front and everyone can see his jersey. So if you're not a good climber in terms of riding style, then what do you do in this race? How do you attack it?
Maybe you would want to force a breakaway and kind of do a similar tactic to what Ed Laverack has done in the previous 2 races, because it did pay off for him. It didn't pay off for him in the first race, but the second race it did pay off for him. He took maximum points, 5 points, and that does give him, it shoots him up the leaderboard. So I think you just got to play to your strengths and play to your tactics of what you might plan out before the race starts.
I'm getting the subconscious there is it's going to be very entertaining. You mentioned leaderboard. Let's have a look at the leaderboard right now. As you can see, in the men's race here is how it stands currently after 2 races. 1 more up for grabs, a possible maximum of 25 points in that last race. So there you can see Cam Jeffers seems to be falling into place for him, as you can see at the top of the table. And then down in 10th, Stevie Young. Pride is probably at the line now to push himself and see what he can do. Maybe the climb in this last one, this 9.1 kilometre climb, is what he can do. So let's have a look at the schedule for later on. The action will continue here into the evening. We're live on BT Sport tonight from 8 o'clock with the Wahoo Scratch races. They should be brilliant. Right then, so guys, this is your Thursday night sorted. Do join us later for more live cycling at the British Cycling Zwift eRacing Championships.